Invocation.
Dear Father, we just thank you for this time that we have to do this today, to look at all of the numbers that involve the city, all the decisions that have to be made. We just ask for your wisdom as we go through each of the numbers that have to be considered, and the good decisions will be made as we go forward towards a finished budget. Just thank you for that. Thank you for the energy that you give us to do this. In his name, amen.
Member Rasco, if you'd like to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, one state, under God, one individual.
Thank you very much. City Secretary, if you will call the roll.
Mayor Gloria Whitehead,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Aurora LeBrun,
Here.
Councilmember Judy Brizendine,
Here.
Councilmember Bob Hambrick,
Here.
Councilmember Brent Pulley, Councilmember Jeff Rasco.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll proceed. We are now having public comments. Secretary, did anyone turn in public comment forms? All right, I have no public comments at this time. We'll go to the regular agenda. Item 1, discussion on the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval tax rate and the impact on taxpayers. Mr. Lewis,
All right.
would you proceed with the report?
Yes, I will. You have in your packet the notice of the public hearing on a tax increase. When the state passed the new regulations, the new laws a couple of years ago, they changed terminology to the no new revenue tax rate and a voter approval tax rate. Basically, the no new revenue tax rate means that we would not raise any additional taxes over what we did the previous year, and that is with new valuations, everything. The voter approval rate is calculated at 3.5% over the no new revenue tax rate. And that means as long as the city stays at the 0.2071, it cannot go to an election. If it went over that, it could go to an election. Last year, if you recall, we had the opportunity because of COVID to be able to raise the taxes up to 8%. But since we did not really have any losses this year, and during the winter storms and stuff, we kept it at the 3.5%. Now, when council took action to set the the proposed tax rate at the 0.2071, that means that you cannot exceed that amount. And during the hearings that we will have later, and also when the final vote comes in, that you can go down, of course. You just can't go over that 0.2071. When you look at what was produced, and this is a form that's produced by Hayes County. Now, we have nothing to do with it once we tell them what the proposed tax rate is. So there's been some comments about that on some of the social media. But basically, with this change, total tax rate per $100 valuation, that means it's a decrease of 7.17%. Average homestead taxable value is an increase of $28,119. So basically, it's a 10.5% increase. Tax on average homestead, 2.16, and total levy on all properties is about 1.67%. Because we had an increase also in new valuations. I did also prepare, where is it? Oh, it's in the next slides. But also I did show also where, how it affects everybody in the actual documents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know I haven't brought that up yet.
Oh, okay.
So let me bring that up real quick here.
And while you're doing that, I'll just make one comment for the record that today's proceeding in the regular agenda and then also our budget workshop will not have any action taken. This is a discussion only meeting, just for the record.
Okay, so Linda, help me out here. Okay, so basically, on the comparison table that and what I show is that with the 2020 rate, which was 22.31 cents, basically, 200,000 valuation on a home is $446.20 is what a citizen would be paying on the
To the city.
to the city, right? To the city. But on the voter approval rate, if your home was valued at 200,000 still, you would actually see a decrease of $32. And now I can't tell you how each person's home's values changed, but overall, we're looking at about a $10,000 increase in tax revenues. And that's it.
Could you say tax revenue?
Tax
For the
revenues,
city.
yes.
For the city.
And then when you look at the next page I have.
Yeah.
All right, I got to flip over here. So, basically, on $100 valuation, $100,000 valuation, the no new revenue rate was about $18.40 difference less. Voter approval rate, which would be the M&O, would be about $16 less on $100,000 valuation. So, if anybody has any questions, it's easier to answer questions than to explain it.
I just have a comment because I witnessed this process last year, and the city council was accused of raising the tax rate. I believe those were the exact words. The city council raised the tax rate when actually, if the taxes went up, it was because of home valuation and not because of the action by the city council. And in the same way, this year, the tax rate will go down by 1.6% approximately. And the only reason why anyone would pay any more than they're paying now is because they had the fortunate event in many cases of their homes increasing in value, nothing more. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
That's correct, because the council last year went down on the levy. It went from 2235 to 2231.
Decreased it, yes.
Decreased.
Yes.
Now, as you stated, everybody sitting in here are property owners. So if you're lucky enough, your value went up on your home.
It's the only reason why you pay
I
more.
mean, that's the
Not-
only reason you pay more
not much.
taxes.
And wasn't it somewhere in the neighborhood of $30?
What? Yes.
Maximum
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
Resident,
Yes.
thank you.
I did some numbers, and if we have the 2020, and this is I looked at 350,000 and 375,000 value, because let's be honest, the way things are going in Woodcreek, I don't know that there are any homes at 100,000, even my little house. So if you do the 2020 tax rate, you would have paid in the $350,780.85. If you go with the no new revenue, that goes down to $716, or about $64 less. On the voter approval, it goes down by 56. That would be 70. So it's a difference. But what concerns me is when I look at the value, an increase of 10, I estimate based on what I've seen at the county, 10.05%, the taxpayer is going to see an increase. Not significant, but they're going to see a small increase.
Yeah, we can't control the
We can't control
valuations.
that, but they will. So on the one hand, we are lowering the tax rate, but the values are going up. At least 10.05% is what the county is saying.
And isn't that what happened last time
Yes.
Yes.
as well? Okay.
And we
I
can-
just want to make sure we get that
Yeah.
clear on the record for the citizens who are listening, calling in, and reviewing these videos.
We can count on that to continue happening too, because I don't know if y'all know it, but a house on Brook Hollow just went pending for $579,000.
Good for them.
That's right.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it,
It's a very nice house, but I mean, I was told by a real estate agent, a reputable one, that houses in Woodcreek, one house that she was representing, she had 22 offers. And the house sold for 50,000 over the asking price. And she says the average home in Woodcreek is selling between 20 and 30 over the asking price. So this is happening, and we're not unique. I have friends
No.
in Driftwood, Driftwood Springs, who are, well, their property values are even going higher than ours, so their taxes in some cases are driving some of the long-term residents away. And they're coming over and just bought a home.
So
I
how
would like to
does-
point something else out too, that on the comparison table, on the 2020 rate of 2231, if your home was valued at $350,000, that you were paying $780.85. But if your valuation went up to 375,000, under the voter approval rate, you're still paying less
It's
of
definitely
776.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So it's only $4, but still it is
It's
less.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel for the people, the younger retirees and the families in Puerto Rico that have, the ones under 65, because WISD just raised their taxes by 5%.
Yes.
which is what I was just going to ask, the issue of the WISD taxes is certainly going to impact younger residents.
It's going to affect, so they are going to see high payments, primarily. I haven't heard from the counties to do it.
But the point is that this council has a no new revenue tax rate and a voter approval rate that does not increase taxes. Bob, did you have a comment about any of that?
Well, when we look at it, the math is simple. $8 is what we're looking at for a $350,000 home, if that's the value, from 716 for no new revenue to 724 for the voter approval rate. That's in light of what we're really looking at in terms of the overall increase of that valuation of the house. That's tiny, tiny.
Absolutely.
And this is not a lie.
This form is, this form is not our form.
No, it,
I understand. But the way that they put it here is proposed tax rate, this means the city of Blue Creek is proposing to increase property taxes. It's not the truth. I mean, it's not what we're doing, but it's because there's nothing we can do. It's a form that we don't generate.
So,
It's a hate count.
yeah, so, I mean, what it's showing is 21 over 20, the tax rate would go down based on that. So the tax rate itself would go down.
Yes.
The tax revenues, or the tax revenues would get, what do you say, like $10,000 before it would go to the voter approval rate. But the tax payments, individual tax payments per $100 valuation would drop. So it's like, it is kind of confusing, and I was trying to explain it to somebody the other day that a lot of it is based on, when the county does the assessment, they say that, okay, so for no new revenue over last year, it's this rate. That means that even with higher valuations, more homes, in the mix, that we're still bringing in the same amount of money. So it is kind of confusing, and it does look like, oh, well, our taxes being raised or not, and it's like to the person on the
I
street.
think a united discussion, as we're having today, united reporting discussion will help. Because it is confusing, no doubt.
I still have one area of confusion, and it's because I haven't really worked on city budget in several years. But I'm like the M&O and the INS budget breaks down. So on the chart, we've got the M&O at, like, if we explain how. And that's-
Okay, so basically, the M&O is our operating budget, maintenance and operation, and that's where the 3.5% is calculated, whether it's, and so basically, that's why there's a difference there. The INS is actually just to pay off the taxes. Whatever is required, because, and there's one of the forms in here, we are estimating about $216,000 for payments this year. But then with collections that were made last year, that would actually reduce the amount that we have to collect this year off. So the no new revenue rate is, and also the voter approval rate is based only on M&O.
That's why 349 shows up in the budget. Yeah. But the 210.
That's right. And in the actual document for the budget itself, the ordinance will show INS, principal and interest.
I just want to say, because this is public meeting, the real bottom line, and I always look at the bottom line, is if I have a home that today is valued, I get my valuation go up 10.05%. I'm pretty close now to 375,000. So if I look at what it is, here's my last year, I would have paid $780.85 on the tax rate on my home being 350.
Uh-huh.
This year, my home is going to be worth around 375. I'm going to pay 776, about $14 less than I paid for 350.
Yes.
That taxpayer, if under 65, is going to have a hit from school district taxes, but that's not us.
That's right. Yes.
So even with the 10% increase in my value, really from my pocketbook, I'm not going to see much. In fact, I see a tiny decrease. Maybe I can buy 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks.
Or you can do that payback thing you do.
So that's kind of what, that's what is that all my little numbers?
I have a question because if we are at the no new revenue rate, we're paying more on the debt service than if we move to the voter approval rate. Is that going to extend our note?
No, because no matter what we do, the debt service is the same amount.
But it's showing different. You're showing different rates.
Well, this is,
Oh, that's maintenance.
well, because, okay, so this is, this is where it runs into, really gets into the detail. That when you look at the 2047, that is the debt plus the M&O.
Okay.
But then when I broke it out under the 2020 for M&O for 1291, that's where the difference is. And you can't really look at the 2047 because the actual M&O for 2021, no new revenue is 1248. Add 3.5% to that, and you come up with the 1291.
But look at the percentages of the INS.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
So our debt service will remain the same, even though I see different numbers here?
Yes, sure will. Yeah.
And that's mandated,
It's
correct?
mandated because what we have to do is file with the tax collector the amount of debt service we have for the year. And they just take that
Right off
figure
the top.
and say, okay, it's $216,000 is what your debt is. This is what your valuation is. This is what you're going to collect in INS.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it confused
Oh,
me
it's very
because these
confusing.
numbers are different.
I know I looked at it again this year and I had to text her again and ask her, okay, now what's going on here?
Yeah,
Another explanation.
okay.
Yeah.
So another comment I have, just a comment, is that although there aren't people here in the meeting, we are videoing all of this meeting and also taking recordings of the meeting. So we will be recommending and encouraging citizens to go to the website, to watch the meeting, to come back then if they'd like at the next meetings that we'll be having to make comments or to send in comments. So even though we don't have a large audience, we hopefully have a lot of citizens who will watch the video and who may be listening as well. We do have a call-in number. So are there any more comments or discussions on the item 1 of the regular agenda?
Oh, the only thing I wish we'd do the budget first and then the tax rate, because if we made changes, to the budget, that could be, we might want to reflect that in the tax rate. So if we found some things we could cut from the budget, we might be able to go in at a lower tax rate. But,
Okay.
and I know we're not making any decisions
Right,
here.
but on the process, once we get into the actual adoption of the budget,
The money, and if we save some money here, it could reflect on the amount of money that we would, need from taxes.
I
Um,
don't think it's gonna make significant
I
difference when
probably-
it's $2 difference
Probably not. It's
And
not, it's,
probably-
per 100.
And probably, I think that for purposes of the first discussions, the number 1 item of interest is these tax matters.
I think let's work on the budget.
So if you're ready to move on to and we will begin the budget workshop, and I do not have any public comments. So what I do need is I'll need a motion to begin the discussion of the budget workshop items.
I move that we begin the discussion of the budget workshop items.
I second it.
So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun, and a second by Councilmember Hambrick, and we will call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun,
Aye.
Councilmember Brisendine,
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe,
here. Aye.
Motion carries. We'll begin the budget workshop discussions. And Manager Lewis, do you want to just make some introductory comments and
Okay.
then begin the?
yes, basically, as we went through this, and I had asked the council members and other, parties that wanted things to be included in the budget with the sponsorship of council members. A lot of the items that are under the miscellaneous were things that were brought forward through other discussions from the emergency management group, from council members, from where we had the library come in and ask for donations. So there's a lot of things that are in there that that's the biggest topics as of discussion. The M&O, basically what we have presented right now on the first things until you get down to 8,900 account number are basically an estimate on operations. So, but we will go through each line item, and if anybody has any questions, they can ask it. And we, for discussion too, or if there's any recommended changes also.
Okay.
So we'll just start with the first one, which is the ad valorem tax. And this is based on the voter approval rate, and it's estimated to generate $349,000.
So you are taking into consideration the 10% for the ad valorem tax calculation, the 10% increase in property values?
Yes.
So if y'all will be certain to let me recognize you so that we can not be talking over each other potentially.
If I could make just almost an introductory comment.
Yes.
And looking this over, this is my first time in this particular budget process. I've been doing it as a homeowner and as a person whose husband did his own finances for many years. But this is a new one for me. And in doing this, one of the things that I've noticed is that there are increases, but many of these increases are incremental over the last 6 years. and many of them are very reasonable over the last 6 years. I don't see many that are way out there in terms of what they've done as far as the estimates for the new budget. And you have to look very closely. It'll wear on your eyes if you're not careful. But I'll go through, as you go through, I'll make some comments as we go through, but I appreciate all of the work. And then you show Mr. Lewis, you showed me some of the breakouts of some of these that are well beyond these numbers. And I know you have explanations for each one of those, and I'm satisfied that that your explanations are valid.
Yeah, I agree. I have a question, and if I'm going too fast, because I think that when we look at franchise revenue, it's pretty standard. 3090 development revenue, we have nothing for this year. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so basically, if you go down through there, because we have 3090 and 3090.01, but where we start actually breaking it out at is at 3090.011, 0.012, 0.013,
Okay.
and so that's basically a breakout. And the thing is, what we started doing is trying to break out more of the revenues. And as you go across that line item, you can see where we have things showing up during that time period. But then when you get into where we started breaking it out, basically in 1920 is where we started really breaking it out. So that's why.
So that's why you broke it down.
Yes.
So my first is 3090.011 new home permits. I think that looking at what is being built throughout the city, as well as what's projected, I think that we should keep that at 20,000.
Okay.
I know that the fee is 1,000 per home.
Yes.
So even if you do, I would say that I believe we should keep it at 20,000.
Could I ask what the,
Excuse me.
Sure.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, could I just ask what the reason, because I've had that, since the first draft, is, those numbers being cut in half.
Well, basically, I'm being very conservative.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but I mean, what?
And if you look, and the projections we're getting out of Austin and stuff is that the housing market is actually stabilizing more. So we don't know.
Yeah.
But, I have no problem with it to go, 20,000. It's just, I don't want to have to adjust backwards too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there may be some wisdom in splitting the difference somewhere, but if new home permits go up, then I would think that, the rest of the things will follow at some level too, right?
If new home permits go up, then the inspection fees go up. Then when you go into the other permits, of course, if somebody builds a new home and then they decide they need to put a fence up, then that'll go up. But that, that's what other permits are, like new decks, fences, storage buildings, anything like that. Roofs, yes.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Right here? Could we perhaps look at all the items that were the revenue items and see if there are any questions about the revenue items?
Yeah.
And take them more in
In
Yeah.
order,
in
because
order.
I'd like to back up to sales tax.
Back up.
Sure. I just
That's
was
what I
going to
said.
make
I
a
knew that might be
suggestion,
going
and
too
I'll have
fast.
Manager Lewis kind of lead us through the different areas, and then perhaps have
Okay.
discussion on each of those areas. That might help us all stay on
Okay. Yeah.
the same wavelength.
Sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. On sales tax, right now I still show the 97,500. Now, if you look back for the history of the payment we just got for the last 2 months from sales tax, it is basically equal to what it was last year.
Mhm.
So basically, the biggest increase came in the prior months.
But I would like to indicate that the reason it jumped dramatically is because of the golf course being so busy. And with a pending transition of a golf course, we can't guarantee that that number is going to stay that way, because they generated a lot of sales tax during COVID. So
Did
But-
they significantly increase just this last budget cycle, or how much more were we than the previous cycle?
Well, and the thing,
I guess-
there's
I
so
know
many
we had
dynamics,
higher income
so
because
many
we
things that are different
kept
in
on
there now.
open.
Because when we had the loss of our other biggest sales tax generator, and you look back,
Back to 15.
yeah, back to 15, 16, we're talking 38 to $45,000 was basically coming from the majority of it, the golf course.
From the,
Yes.
how much was it from the?
But the golf course, that if you look back on 15, 16, because the liquor store had burned down and we got
Oh,
nothing
that's
from
right,
them.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So it was around $40,000 back then. And so if that should change pending new ownership, then we've got to dramatically look at that number.
But
So you're just saying that
Yeah.
it's a matter of concern that there might be a decrease in that revenue.
Absolutely.
And so what do we do,
yes.
Manager Lewis?
Well,
when
and
we
also, though-
may have a decrease.
And the other thing that's, we do not know how it'll affect us, but starting October 1, the way sales tax is paid to the entities changes too. Because right now we've been, because if we were working and making sure certain entities would pay sales tax to the city of Woodcreek when you ordered online, things like that. But starting October 1, that if you buy something from another city's sales point and it's delivered to the city of Woodcreek, we're supposed to get that sales tax.
So have we been starting to receive that
Yes,
because of
but
the effort?
because we've been promoting that, saying, but I'll use an example. If you buy a computer from a company in Round Rock and have it shipped to Woodcreek, we're supposed to get the sales tax off that
Yes.
instead of them.
That's starting with the new fiscal year.
Yes.
That's what I understand. And one of the other things that I'm looking at, maybe during this year, the high sales taxes, we had a lot of people that we saw a tremendous increase in the number of permits, people who were redecorating, remodeling, purchasing new appliances. I was one of them.
Yes.
So, and I know for a fact that the two big box stores that sell those products, when you give them the address, we are in their database as Woodcreek,
Yes.
like or Lowe's and Home Depot.
So Councilmember Brizendine, did you have a suggestion about what we might do there?
Well,
Do you
I
think
mean,
it
in
should
lot,
be reduced?
in light of the situation, I think we need to put it back where it was for 2021. Because we have no clue. And I think we've kind of over exaggerated based on an inflated number.
What-
Even if what
Yeah.
Brenton is saying does come to pass, if people don't put Woodcreek on there and they put Wimberley, then Wimberley gets the sales tax.
Possibly.
Well,
It's
I
Not
mean,
supposed to go
after
by
October.
address, but you
They
don't
go
know
by
how it's
address.
going to be.
I know that's
Well,
how Lowe's does
Yeah.
it.
we
But
know
the
that,
zip code confuses everybody.
Yes.
We have the same. And Councilmember Rasco, did you want
Yeah,
to make a
I-
comment?
Well, I was just wondering, can you give us just, I know, just ballpark on sales tax revenue, golf course versus internet versus liquor store?
Because we only have two large sales tax producers, that if we had like 20, we could actually request our top 10 taxpayers how much they pay us, but not who they are.
Oh, okay.
But they will not divulge, the state will not divulge how much each one of those entities pays.
But we can look back here at 15, 16 and look at something in the range of 40,000, 38,000 and assume that most of that is golf course.
yeah,
Yes,
Some
at
of
that
it could
time,
be
yes.
internet sales or
yeah,
anything
because
else.
the liquor store wasn't in operation that year.
And we
had
weren't
burned
getting.
down.
They
sales-
had
we
burned
were
down.
not getting sales tax
Yeah.
until this started being discussed this last year.
Exactly.
So I think if we might lose some money from the golf course, and it could just be that they stay in business, keep going, but just because COVID gets better and not as many people are out on the golf course, that tax revenue could go down. But I don't think people are going to quit buying things online. And if October 1 comes around and it's clearer that if you say deliver to Woodcreek, Woodcreek gets the money, it should offset, if not beat out any loss from the golf course.
Okay,
Do you
so,
think
Well,
it,
I can see Councilmember Brisendine's comments, though. We're getting ready to talk about how we're going to spend a lot of money. And we're looking at the revenue first.
Yeah.
So to be totally
I want to be realistic
realistic
and
about it,
conservative.
we're not going to have, just having looked at it all, we know that we do not have the money to do all of what we're talking about wanting to do.
I
Right.
think,
But we need to start with the revenue.
and
Yeah.
basically under, when the 2021 budget was adopted, we were estimating $65,000 in sales tax.
and we generated 77.
No, we've generated, probably 95,000.
Oh, you're talking about the 2021 budget.
Right.
I think that one of the issues that we've always been careful when doing budgets is you should underestimate your revenues and overestimate your
I agree.
expenses.
That's right.
And they are budget amendments, because the worst thing that can happen, and it happens to the state with great frequency, that they balance the budget by underestimating expenses and overestimating revenues. And then you're running around, then you come in halfway through the year and you can adjust expenses, but you can not generate new revenue unless
Mhm.
in our situation. So
At all.
I wouldn't object to lowering that number.
And I'm always concerned about any time that we're having budget amendments frequently through the process, because, council members may or may not want to agree to these things, and they haven't been maybe part of the budget process in the year that they're having to live with the budget that's coming down. So I'm just concerned if we do overestimate.
I'd like to see that number drop
It's a good
20,000.
point. Councilmember Resco, did you,
Actually, I believe it was me.
Hamburg?
I was thinking that that number perhaps should be 80,000 at this point, which is 17,500 less than it is now. And we can amend that up at some point later on if we need to. If we find out in the first 3 months or so that things are going gangbusters, we could definitely move it up again.
I don't think we have to make an amendment on the revenue, do we?
Well, you just make a recommendation and I'll change it and
Yeah,
we'll keep it
okay,
running
I'll say.
total right now.
Yeah,
So 80, 75,000.
I'm okay with 80,000.
Okay.
I think it's a little more realistic.
Well, we're not going to vote on anything,
No.
but we'll just agree
Yeah.
that in the
Right, okay.
discussion.
This is first pass.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Moving through your revenue.
Okay. Mixed beverage tax. That's generated once again, at the golf course.
It is. And
Yeah.
it fluctuates, and since they're not operating full scale, but I don't think 900's crazy.
Well, if you look at the history, it was down for a while, but at least in 1920, it was 883.
Yeah.
And so
It's
Yeah.
within that.
we
same
know
range.
COVID affected that
They
too.
drink them.
And it's already 1260 through July. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
But I don't think, but
So we're projecting
because
a
of the
drop,
revenue,
but
we
not
don't
huge.
receive a check every month. So that's why, it's one of these things that I think at the year end will still be at 1260. Because they pay it to the state pays it to us.
Oh, okay.
And I use the most recent
you
figures
think
in
that's-
August.
I mean, you think that's going to carry us that same number, September 30?
I think it'll be a year end, yes.
You get paid, we get the tax quarterly, right?
Yes.
Based on the state
Yes.
fiscal year.
On the state, yes.
If you look back in 15, when the liquor store was closed and they still had a restaurant there, the number was 1,300. So I think $1,000 is probably close to an average if you look across the span.
Yeah, I guess.
So are there any of the other revenues that could be increased?
I'd like to look at the electric franchise revenue.
And what I'm going to recommend is that we ask for an audit on that.
Is this on-
Through through Jamie Malden, that firm,
Yeah.
because we have not seen any change basically since, it's actually gone down. And I know more people are putting in solar, which affects us.
I think that's a great idea.
But we
Myself.
do need to find out what's going on there, because we should be seeing an increase just because the apartment complex being added on, all the new homes. We are getting the offset on solar, but the policy is that PEC does not pay the actual retail rate back. They pay the wholesale.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you,
Does everybody agree with the idea
mhm.
Yeah,
of moving
Absolutely.
forward?
I think,
I do.
I think that's a good idea.
Definitely do that. Is there any other item that we think should be increased?
Let me point out that under the 3030.10, the PEG cable revenue,
Yes.
that is money that comes in that the city only can use for technology. Basically, this system we have here was purchased through those funds. It cannot be used in any other part of the operation budget.
Oh.
Okay.
Interesting.
But where that started was when people, when cities were having their, had a municipal channel. You used to go to, you could see, this is what the city of Timbuktu's doing, and they're running, different ads and stuff. But that money is basically going into a special account.
Okay. But the cable services franchise fee, we'd been saying it was going to be, 25 and it was 35, 25, 33. So 25 this year is going to come in right about 25 looks like.
Mhm.
But, so you're just going to keep that level?
I am right now.
So
And-
you don't think that people, could it be, because it sort of went up and then started down again? Is that because people are cutting the cable?
Well, and it also depends on if they go to Dish or one of the other satellite
There's a lot
providers, because we get nothing
we
off
don't
them.
get anything from that.
more-
no.
There's a lot more.
So that's where
service
that's where I kind of
I don't-
saw
And
those
we-
losses coming from.
Yeah, we collect a 5%, which is mandated by the state. We have no choice on the franchise fee for cable.
And that is, so when you do the cable with Spectrum includes TV, internet, and phone?
Okay, now
I want.
okay, that also, there was a new law passed that Spectrum, since they have telephone and internet and also TV.
Yeah, they now added cell phone.
Well, but now, in cell phones, we don't get anything.
Is that the TWC?
But if you look at, I gotta find it.
3030.10? What is that?
Okay, the PEG revenue is ones that we have no say on. But when you look at the telephone franchise fee, 3060,
Oh, okay.
you can see that we got, in 1920, we collected $965. But because of new regulations under the PUC, we cannot collect a telephone franchise fee from somebody that provides cable TV.
Ah.
They can choose which one and they pay the higher one to use our, right of ways, but they don't have to pay on the second one. So basically, that is just based on the telephone franchises that do not provide any type of cable services.
Which would be Verizon.
It would be Verizon, and we have some odd ones like, that only pay $3.80 a quarter or something like that.
Intel or
Yeah.
something.
It's not
Somebody.
Spectrum.
No.
No, so basically, we lost money there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something.
So the water service franchise fee,
Yes.
is there possibility that that'll be even more? Or is that based on an increase?
That is based on the franchise fees as they are set now. We are collecting 3% on the franchise fees.
Okay.
But as you know, we're in negotiations with Aqua right now for the franchise fee. So it could go up from there.
Okay.
Right, so we could look at, in the revenue side, we could potentially see some increase there.
But we also could see some decrease
We could.
because when the last time we had negotiations with Aqua, they were paying basically around $20,000 because of services in other areas. Under state law now, we cannot charge that franchise fee outside the city, even though the water comes through Woodcreek.
Okay,
It's about a
so we're pretty
$20,000
good at that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting this next year.
Yeah.
Is there a CPI attached to any of our franchise agreements?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess you would say our disposal service fee goes
Yeah.
up 1% every year.
So that is
Yeah.
So
essentially,
disposal service fees, because they have been increasing
Yes.
steady.
Yeah.
So based on that 1%.
yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else is kind of very,
Yeah, but
so where were we? Golf course?
Okay. Well, golf course franchise fee, that's just, because they cross our roadways.
Mhm.
Reimbursement, that is where we've started billing for services like when our engineers look at plats, things like that. So that, because it says we can recoup that cost. And so we're making sure we bill for that now. We used to basically eat it because we were not actively billing for it. So that's a revenue there.
So that $8,000 is really that's a huge increase.
Yes,
Mhm.
because we start billing for
Because
it.
you're
We actually start
actually-
billing for it. Yes.
taking care of the reimbursement
Yes.
process.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Then new home permit fees, I think everybody was discussing going back up to like 15 or 18,000.
Mhm.
I think 15,000 would be conservative and safe compared to 18 to 20,000.
Okay.
What did you write down?
Would you repeat
15,
that
18,
for
or 20?
Councilmember?
I went to 15,
Okay.
and that's plus 5,000. Other permits, we could go back to what actual was in 1920, about 7,800.
You mean in 2019
Yeah,
instead of
2019, yeah.
1920?
Yeah, what?
not 1920, okay, excuse me.
So what, if we're going
No,
up,
I'm going to
I
1920
know
because
we're a
I'm reading
bunch
the
of
last two
old
digits.
people, but probably not that.
well, if we're going up 50% on the new home permits, what if we do the same thing on the other permits?
75.
7,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's conservative, but it's still realistic.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing with
Yes,
inspections,
yeah, it'll be.
because all of those are concurrent,
Yes.
basically.
Not only is the market stabilizing, but we're also there are some new developments coming up on 12th,
Mhm.
not too far from us.
Yeah.
So the competition, the availability of housing and within our area, but not in the city, is going to be a source of competition.
Mhm.
So what is the commercial? What is commercial?
Commercial would be the last one, the 3250 was work that was done here at the camp that was classified as commercial.
Okay.
And so, it just depends on what the work is out here. Or, if somebody did something out at the golf course or something like that.
I noticed that the commercial lot at Tully Court is up for sale. If they put something there, that's in our ETJ, right?
That is actually in the city.
So that's, okay, so if that's in our city and it is sold as commercial,
Mhm.
then we could potentially have some commercial revenue there.
Yes.
Okay.
What lot is that?
Okay.
The lot at the front of Tully Court,
Isn't there one on each side of their driveway?
only one of them has a for sale sign on it though.
Yeah.
But it is zone commercial.
So were you thinking that should be increased
Well,
or not?
I mean, my guess is it should be.
Yeah, but
We could put it back to the 5,000 just like we had.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. You had 5,000.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because if they sell that lot, it's zone commercial, then we're gonna have something. If somebody buys it, they're gonna put something on it.
Yes.
And it could potentially generate some sales tax revenue as well, right?
Depends on if it's only as an office building or if it's also, it depends on what,
Retail, yeah.
if it's
Okay.
retail, it
But-
depends on what goes in
But
there.
either way, the building permit would be commercial.
Yes.
Okay. I think we should pull that back up.
Okay, back to 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question about the subdivisions, plats and replats.
Mhm.
The fact that it went down so dramatically.
Yeah,
It just depends on what people are doing in the ETJ plus what they're doing inside the city.
Good.
We have one property owner that has submitted, I think, 3 different replats on the same property.
Hoping for one.
Well, I think to almost diminish it though is a little severe, don't you? I mean,
I think.
you went from 12,800 to 2,500.
Well, but the year before we were at 33,
What is the
so
status of the,
Oh.
the land that is, the first sub ETJ land that has been for sale, that could be subdivided? Has it sold?
not that I know of. No.
It's still still,
But yeah, we split the difference there.
I think we ought to at least push it up around $5,000 because we already know that we have a couple of replats that are in the works. So I think
Yeah.
that 2,500 is low.
yeah. Would the fourplexes come under that category?
Not now.
Already been
So, but
done.
I think we're
They
gonna,
they would have been, yeah.
I think you're gonna have at least a
Yeah.
couple of replats.
Mhm.
I think 5,000.
Yeah, I think 5,000 too.
Okay.
Everybody okay with 5 on that? Ready.
Liquor license?
Did you calculate the revenues?
I haven't added them all yet, but I got them over here on the right side. Liquor license is just for the liquor store and also for the golf course.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's their annual fees.
Yeah.
Sign fees.
Yeah. I
That's,
think it's fine.
yeah.
That's
It's
fine.
minimal.
Yeah, it's that's one of those that's, minimal. Interest income.
Boy, it took a hit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And we're just waiting for interest rates to go up.
Mm-mm.
What changed so drastically?
Well, it
Okay.
just bottom dropped out of the market, I guess.
What's that revenue?
Hmm.
Okay, no, sorry. I
Okay.
just,
COVID? Everything's COVID, right?
Basically,
Other,
it's all-
Doesn't make any sense.
It's all in low
Yeah.
interest bearing
Does that make
accounts right
sense
now,
to you?
correct?
pardon?
Any assets that we have are in low interest bearing accounts and they would,
Oh, yes.
so they're subject to very low interest rates.
That's
As
right.
opposed to if they were like they were 2 or 3 years ago, which I don't know what those would have been.
Oh,
but
they were
much higher.
Yeah.
So nobody's collecting much interest. It looks
And,
like
and then
the
also,
accounts-
and as you will know, once we expend the money on Woodcreek Drive, that will reduce our interest income too.
Absolutely.
Oh,
it's not going,
right.
Yeah.
we're not gonna
That'll
make
get-
more.
That'll
No.
get.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need to see the
did-
market go up.
Did we move that money when we allocated it?
It's sitting in the, right now it's still sitting at our bank, but we have not moved it. We'll move it once we expend it.
But was it bearing interest in it?
Everything bears interest that we have invested right now. Our checking account bears the same interest as what it does at Texas Regional, our investment account, and also Texas Class, which is also an outside one, but they all basically have the same interest rate.
Okay.
These are minor accounts, but then let's see here, other revenue, that's parking permits and anything else otherwise classified.
Yeah.
Municipal court revenue. Yeah, we had a good year this year.
Mhm. Did we make more than we spent?
No,
Of
but you're not
course
supposed to.
not.
And that probably could be up to, again, to, $3,000.
I was thinking that
Yeah.
you intend to do a little more court this next year.
We're
Yeah.
we're back on schedule now since we can have court.
Okay.
And what are the primary, where does that revenue come from in the municipal court?
Just fines. Or somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to. It could be trimming trees, could be illegal. I got the court clerk behind me, but just fines. And it's all discretionary up to the judge.
Yes.
Mhm.
So are you going to increase that, did you say?
Yeah, I'll
Three?
increase that back to 3,000.
Municipal court revenue?
Mhm.
That's what it was before it was reduced.
And the TDEM revenue is going away.
Right, because that was one time
Yeah,
check.
that was one time. The donation is the camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, it's minimal, but that probably, it increases a little bit each year, but it's.
Yeah.
That's not
Yay, Camp Jeanette.
1%.
1%.
But still,
It's, yeah. By the time it's over with the development agreement, it'll be a nice sizable chunk of change.
uh-huh. What did that change our bottom number to?
I'm adding it up right now.
Okay.
Should have somebody else adding this up
Mhm.
to double check me. Linda, you adding this up in your head? Right now, I got an additional 38,750.
Additional?
Yeah.
Even with some we backed out?
Mhm.
Okay. So it would be,
Let me add it again, just to make sure.
What was the inspections again, Linda? If I could ask?
Oh, there's where my mistake is. I didn't see my negative.
okay, I was
I
gonna
know,
say,
it's-
wait, something went wrong there.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that's what I said. Okay, everything else went up besides
Besides the,
sales tax.
yes.
What did 3090.13 end up as?
30 point what? 93?
3090.13.
Went up to 14,250. Should have brought out a calculator.
I don't have one. I can't help you.
Linda's gonna get her phone out here in a minute.
That puts us about
I don't have one on the computer either.
3,250.
Let me finish this.
You said 3750? Okay, it went up 3750.
That sounds right.
Okay. I have a question.
Increase of $3,750.
How much?
$3,750 increase.
But I think the numbers are better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have a question on revenue.
Okay,
Okay, under miscellaneous, okay, in the capital projects, we have the American Rescue Plan Act. And that's what we're using. We're estimating that would be for the improvements in drainage. Does that show, like when we had the FEMA
Mhm.
money, we showed it in revenues. How do you handle the American Rescue Plan Act?
What we are doing is we're having it transferred directly into our bond money.
Into your, okay,
And I've recategorized that account, so it'll be separate from everything else. Because the FEMA money that was coming out, actually our M&O, our maintenance operations, this will be coming in. They will cut us a check once we provide them with the actual documentation on the project. They will give us a check instead of us asking for reimbursement.
so and then it goes straight into the,
Right. And then it just goes, but because our population base is higher, so we got more money than what we had originally estimated. But so it'll be in its own separate bank account, and that's how it'll be recorded, so that we know exactly where that money's being spent.
okay. Just, this is the first time we get something like that, so.
That's right. It reminds me of the old revenue sharing money, where the feds used to give us a check for $200,000 for
But they do,
infrastructure.
but they do tell you what you can spend it on.
You got it.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
very-
on very much.
No.
It's very specific. It has to be
Yes.
within the scope of what the purpose of the act is for.
That's
American
right.
Rescue. Very specific. Like, pretty similar to with FEMA. You cannot spend your FEMA money on anything but.
Pretty much like most grants.
Yeah,
Okay, y'all ready to start on the next ones?
sure.
Okay.
All right.
Now comes the fun expenses.
So did you get 1,008,400,
460.
460? Okay, that's what I got.
That's what I got.
Yeah. All right, so basically, the first category is overall salaries, basically personnel costs, put it that way. And this is broken down through the year. This does include our new city inspector. Overall, you can see that estimated increases in salaries and wages. We had amended 185,000 for this year. We're estimating $208,500, which is $23,500. Everything else corresponds directly with on the FICA, unemployment insurance, retirement. If you look at the 5,000.40, the first 3 months of the fiscal year are calculated at 10.55%. The last 9 months of the fiscal year are calculated at 10.91%. And that's just because of the change in TMRS, because it's based on the calendar year, not a fiscal year. So overall, we're estimating personnel services at $262,200.
Can I interject that if we look at the salaries and wages at 5,000.01 and also look as a matter of comparison to 6,000.50 now being zero as opposed to it being $86,650 in 2020 as the actual, we have a savings of the difference between 86,650 and this new one in terms of we're not paying law enforcement anymore. We're paying for a code compliance / inspector, which gives us a substantial savings.
Right.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Rasko.
I'm sorry, this is just something that's stuck with me for a long time. But the car allowance, the $6,000 car allowance, is, I mean, if we paid just mileage reimbursement, it would probably be a much smaller portion of that. And if we're talking about getting a pickup truck for city use, then there's really no reason to have a car allowance at all because the pickup truck could be used. So it seems to me like it should be either or. Either mileage reimbursement or a truck.
I have a question. Is that part of your contract?
It's part of my
It's
employment.
Well,
in fact, that's
it's
part
part
of
of
the
his
employment
contract agreement.
contract, so it's not
So we
really
would have to
negotiable.
amend.
Okay, so
So
Yes.
it's not a budget item. It'd have to be a contractual agreement.
It's part of manager's contract,
Yes.
not
It is.
part of the budget.
Yeah.
It is in the budget because it is a
Expense.
contract, so the only way to get it out of the budget will be to renegotiate the contract.
Yeah,
Which,
But at this time, we have to leave it in.
yeah, but we're talking about next year.
Yeah, we can.
I don't know, when is your contract? But you
Uh,
have a renewal for a while.
I don't know if I'm going to have the attorney jump
We
in
can
here,
check
but
on that.
both parties have to agree to renegotiate.
That's right.
Brenton will continue to serve as the city administrator / manager until he either one resigns or is removed in accordance with Texas Local Government Code 22077. In short, he's got a contract that meets with the expectations and the requirements of the law, which provides a very clear and absolute standard for how non-elected officers are appointed, serve, and remove. Under his compensation, there is, let me find the exact language, an annual allowance for $6,000 for a vehicle paid in 24 equal installments, so twice a month.
Yeah.
And
So it takes both parties to renegotiate the contract. And so, I mean, we could conceivably come to terms on that if other budget items are done. And you say, well, yeah, it's really not fair for me to take, a car allowance if I'm not using my car, for work. So we can talk about that part of my contract. That would take both parties. I'm just putting it out there.
yes,
That would have to be an agenda item, correct? But
yes.
rather than a budget discussion.
This agreement may be modified only by a writing executed by both parties.
Right. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
just saying, because I've been in contracts before
Yes,
where,
that's right.
where, the scope of work changed. And so we say, okay, well, we're going to take a little bit more, a little bit less. And we just agree to, change the contract. So.
You can take control.
And
All right.
does the salary and wages, is that projecting any merit increases?
It projects a 3% increase for the employees based on anniversary dates.
That just barely covers the CPI. It was 3.6 this year.
We have flooded the market with money.
That's right.
Not trying to be a jerk, just trying to,
No, I get it.
trying to find what we can find.
I agree. It all requires looking at.
Okay, we ready to move on, or anybody else have?
Past personnel?
Past personnel into office expenses, city hall maintenance and repairs. You never know about that, but we did reduce it by $1,000. The city hall cleaning costs, we've not renegotiated that fee for cleaning. We get city hall cleaned once a month. And then IT and radio expense, that is actually for our computers that we pay a lease on, and we also have a lease on our radio, so that's all hardware. Office supplies, that could possibly go down by $1,000 to $1,500, but
I don't see that.
it just depends on what projects everybody wants us to do this coming year. Postage and shipping, of course, that's the same thing. Printing and reproduction, that because we did have the door hangers, things like that was included in that cost. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about printing and reproduction. Does that include our copier?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it,
Yeah.
so that really
No.
can't be, that can't
No.
change.
And it's also the lease of our copier.
That's what I
And
thought.
right now, under that lease program, we're not charged for black and white copies, only colored copies.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why our default says black only, black and white only.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have to go back and change it
The
if you want
newspaper
color.
wants a whole lot more for color.
Uh-huh.
Printing costs for the newspaper, that was something that was required by state law to break out. And we had to estimate how much we'd be paying for the printing cost for our stuff in the newspaper. And software and subscriptions, that's just, everything to do with, it's self-explanatory. Software to run all of our computers.
I don't see anywhere where that 5,500 can be changed. Do y'all? I don't see any cuts there.
Maybe a little bit on printing and reproduction if we don't do, but that's pennies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but since that includes the contract on our copier.
Yeah, I know.
So it's the contract on the copier and it's anything like the door hangers or anything else, that all comes under that one category.
Right.
Right.
So I don't see how we
And
can,
if anything, next year, I'd like to see us get more stuff in mailboxes or whatever.
I don't think there's anything
yeah,
there.
I don't see any
We were
cuts.
very conservative on spending that money
Mhm.
this last time, but it's such a good expense.
No more hand calligraphy.
No.
Audit expense, basically, I don't know what that fee will be because we're under a 3-year contract with them.
Okay.
So it could go up, it could go down, who knows?
Yeah.
That's on 6,000.01. Codification, keep it about the same.
What goes into that?
Huh?
What goes in, the codification, is that like I know that every time an ordinance changes, it has to go
Okay,
into the system
it
and
goes into the
so
system.
is that like a just a fee or is it on a per,
It's on a page basis.
so per page of what's being stored or per page new?
Per page change.
Okay.
And we had several changes. We have several in the orders that have been enacted pending codification.
That's right.
We
Yeah,
have
no, I
number
just,
right
it was
now
just a question.
To do, and then we have
Yeah.
some new,
I just wanted to understand it better.
some that are in the works.
Contract labor, that probably, I'd say we can drop that one back by $3,500 estimated.
I think we should.
Mhm. So drop
Back to
it
65.
to,
6,500, yeah.
So more specific, who is that?
Well, basically, it's when we contract out, we had the camp, Young Judea, do some stuff, work for us. And it's over and above work that would have been done for street repairs or anything like that.
So the guy that was going around plugging potholes, that's part of contract labor?
No,
or
that
part of-
is actually under the street maintenance budget.
Okay.
so in contract labor, when we had to redo all the systems and files and records for the
Yes.
court.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we had to hire somebody to do
Yeah,
it.
and basically, we were working with the camp to, like you said, we were scanning in all of our documents.
That's right.
And so that's where that comes in at.
So you'd say go down to,
65.
Back to 6,500, yeah.
go to 6,500?
Yeah. Engineering, that's just basic engineering. So it depends on what the next council wants to do with that. And,
I want a more specific
Okay.
definition of basic engineering.
okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you, 65, basic,
Yeah.
6,015.
Has anyone else looked around this room? Has anyone else looked around this room and noticed that every man in here except me has got a full facial hair set up?
By the time you grew up,
I'm feeling left out.
you didn't grow up.
I have
Would you
some
like
beer
to take
here
a
that
recess
the
for a
afterlife is
moment?
promoting.
Let's take a little quick recess.
Okay.
What do you have?
Some theatrical
5 minutes.
beer here. I
Yeah.
can get it for you.
I need it. I can't grow it like you.
Let's take a 5-minute recess just to stretch our legs, get a water, a cookie. There's some refreshments. Which is, I walked by and took myself.
You find that basic
Back in,
engineering.
I'm looking. I gotta get to the right one. Yes, ma'am.
I was letting our constable go.
Oh, I tried.
Yeah.
And when
You
I
said,
got
really?
up one day,
Well,
Might as well.
nobody even noticed.
Did you tell me to drop my-
It's so thin, in here.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't read it a little bit. I would. No, it doesn't come out that way. To do that. It doesn't come out that way. I'm sorry, I just sent it over. It's not good. Said there anything. It's just. Now you're doing what, we're doing 3 meetings on the 7th, or the 2 meetings on the 7th, 1 on the 10th. We're doing 10 o'clock will be P and C, 1 o'clock will be Paul, 2 o'clock will be. 10, 1. That way. No, which day? Just fine. Okay. It's changed it up, of course. Watch you stand there up. It's like BBL. So they give you. That's like usually sold through. That's like I do game. And at the end of the game, here's your talk to Obi. If you have an obligation vehicle that's
in one spot. And how to me, it's better to pay a certain wage. I look, I look But we can make production, state inspection, registration sticker, and the batteries out of it, battery change, it's an operative. But it's operation.
He needs to spend time on it. We had he went one time when constable said, this is some weird in the neighborhood. I said,
No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
They're all over the city. Now, with this changing, we have Chris is there. You know, the PNC Chris, Sonia.
I know, I know.
Chris is there. And then we have Skylar and his wife.
Sure. I'm more interested in
Well, I'm just doing drive-by.
And, but we have,
getting some
right there in
grants.
the middle, we have the Joe Qatar. Pretty close. We have two PNC people. Me, Brent.
I've always been
There's
a
a,
fan.
and Skylar's trying to buy that little lot.
Well, that's what I've been saying, you know, they look at the budget.
He said he
Well, it's just
said
like
he
City
has
Hall.
finance.
Just normally sit- City Hall, we
I
need,
told him, I said,
at
don't,
City Hall,
I mean, negotiate,
Yeah.
because the building has bought a lot.
and to do that,
Some
it takes money. But the
And
last
he
time
has,
we did
he
it,
doesn't build
Gloria
custom.
did it.
He builds, he has a specific plan. Plans fit.
And I do too.
So he would
That
have
one
to
done. I'm
redo,
ready to
spend a
try
lot of money without having an engineer to redo another plan.
Well, I
And
do
I'm
approve that.
really not
And, so.
lying
that-
about that. He can't do this.
Well,
At
you know,
night, this is not really, have staff and come
Yeah, he's building some smaller ones.
redo it.
they will. Yeah. We're gonna
Well,
start
they
looking
do
in,
that
in
too,
spring.
but maybe when you're.
Somerset, but he has several lots
And they're
there.
full staff.
Yeah.
But by then,
What size is pretty narrow?
I'm just saying,
They're smaller,
there's
see,
room.
like the farms, you know, with Joe lives,
It's not
the
much.
champion circle, those
Trying
were
to
the
get the
early
meetings
ones.
in a day.
And those, when they sold.
No,
them,
that is
so those, they're probably. Now
really,
they're
really
bigger
far.
and fancy.
And they have a
So I think that they have to be more like
I get it.
So,
when he started the business.
not looked that
Woodcreek
good.
North
I am not.
Yeah.
saying that.
went there the other day,
Keep it in your brain. Okay.
Service is a microphone.
somebody's house, and they told me, go this way, go that way. And I'm like, wow.
You had to go out.
Pretty impressive.
These are good.
All the
They
construction-
are. I need a recipe for these cookies. I need the recipe.
So it is 3:23.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It's 3:23 and we'll resume the workshop. Mr. Lewis, if you'd like to guide us into the
Okay,
next
to
section.
answer,
Basic engineering.
basic engineering is project management. So in other words, overseeing all the other projects. Because when they give it to us, they break it down as into whether it's the engineer that's overseeing all the programs.
Well, then my question is, we're paying engineers to engineer the engineers that are engineering.
We're paying an engineer to supervise because it's broken down by each one of the individuals as who's doing the work. So, and this is just the basic project management. Now, when we have the reimbursable for reviewing things like plats and stuff, that's a different category.
And we charge, so if we are, like when our engineers review the most recent, the subdivision,
10% over.
that's within their scope of their basic engineering.
That's That is the reimbursement part. And
And the, that's
Because
the
8,900.
reimbursable, and then the person, the builder reimburses us?
Mhm.
Okay.
And when they gave us that really excellent presentation, I think we had 3 companies that presented. When Caprice did their presentation, if I recall, they explained and talked about the different projects
Mhm.
that they provide. And that we would only pay for the project that we actually had them do.
right. And so basically what happens is
It's in the scope of work.
Yeah,
I contact Adrian, and which is our project manager, and he oversees whatever, so basically it's one that cannot be otherwise classified. And I can get you all the breakdown of bills and send them to you so you can see how it's broken out.
I'd like to see that,
Okay,
please.
all right.
I saw engineering in the last year, 55,000. This 20,000, and then the $60,000 engineering for the roads.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is a lot of engineering costs for a city of this size.
And
So I'd like to see them individually.
okay.
well, is that
So
also,
Maybe,
is that kind of a one-time expense?
Well, the
It's
project.
not like it's an annual.
Well,
expense
and
for all seasons,
the
is it?
monthly expense varies on the project management. It just depends on what we're using them for.
I'm just curious.
So basically, if I call him up and, our engineer up, and it's a billable hour, no matter what we do.
Of course,
But
just like Bud.
Yeah. His watch is going right now.
No.
would it be
makes
beneficial
me
if you sent
relax.
us, because I think I have it, like the scope of work, then we enter into, I don't think you were on council when we enter into the contract.
Well-
The scope of work that breaks down what they charge us for, what's the basic fee, blah, blah, blah.
right, and I can send that to you, and I also can send
that to
everybody
the council.
a copy of the invoices so you can see how it's broken down by each one of the categories.
Okay, I just like to see kind of
Yeah,
the big picture,
Right.
because to me, when I see engineering in several places, I wonder how those
Sure.
correlate with each other.
Yeah, how they
Right.
coordinate. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hope they're not duplicating.
Right,
I think
exactly.
They're not.
If we would set the scope of work to, because like Mayor says, it was broken down in categories and.
Yep.
We
that
weren't
was-
certain what all we were gonna use, but they were working on the survey-ish, work with the survey, and they were doing calibrating and checking and looking at the radar machine,
Right.
coming up with the traffic report
Yeah.
they were working on. They've got the building issues with the
So,
subdivision.
right, so but basically what you'll see is
A
when,
lot of different.
on the
services.
billing, you'll have the project management, and then every one of the subcategories of each project that we're working on at this time.
So if we have an agreement with them, because I see that number doubled, if we have an agreement with them, you must be planning on using them a lot more this next year than you did the last year.
Depends on what the council wants to do. We can go back to 10,000. I don't,
We can put it back.
Well,
yeah, 10,000, because I can't see that many projects coming up.
We have 2 projects. We have
Waiting.
two large projects. If we approve the final plats, we have the fourplexes
Mhm.
on Deerfield,
Uh-huh,
and we have the Oaks.
uh-huh.
And then if there's gonna be commercial construction of Oak Orchard. So I think we have 2 projects that are gonna be significant and 1 project that may
Potentially.
potential.
And
And I don't think that they billed us yet on the traffic issue.
no, they have not done any
They
billing
haven't
on that.
billed
They
us
just
yet on the
reviewed
survey
that.
project.
So, but on the Oaks and on the fourplexes, aren't some of those reimbursable?
Yeah,
There will be.
Yes.
they will be.
That's
They-
what
they
I
won't be-
thought.
They won't be under,
We put it here and then we put it in revenue.
But
So it's
So we should increase the revenue line.
well, that's what I was gonna say, because if the reimbursement, well, we doubled here, and we only did 50%, we only did a percentage on the revenue.
Yeah, you're
So,
right.
so I'm trying to figure out how,
we could decrease
We could,
Cost on for the engineer and then increase the revenue.
Yeah, okay, I'm going, if you indulge me for a second, I'll read you an invoice from
Okay.
them,
okay, I'd like to see
Yeah.
that.
We have to balance. Yeah, okay, I think we need to do that, but I think it's important that every council member has the scope of work.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you send it,
You're gonna read?
Yeah, I'm looking for one right now, so.
So,
okay.
Well, and provide a scope of work for all the council members to read.
Sure will. It'll be, okay, so this is one that came in on 8/12. We had, under general, organization and tracking of task assignments, permit and planning reviews. So let's see here, individual billing, for project management, professional personnel. We had, Caleb Cardoza, Adrian Frias, and Abe Salinas. And then under that, we had the comprehensive plan survey.
mhm.
Under that, we had the replat of lots 1A and 2A Brook Meadow, Section 6. We had also then the Grove of Brook Meadow. And then just Woodcreek General Engineering Services. And that's when we brought them in to look at places for the American Rescue Act, things like that.
Okay, so I have a recommendation here. If we're gonna double it on the expense side, then over here on engineering reimbursement, I think that number ought to at least be 10,000
I
Okay.
agree.
That's good.
On the revenue side?
on the revenue
Are you
side.
saying an
And the
additional
revenue
10,000?
side, I agree.
No,
So basically it's $1,100 then?
no,
Or,
3080.1.
Yeah.
Our 80 is sitting at 8,000.
Mhm.
8932.
So if we make that 10,000, then it compensates for at least 50% of those engineering costs being
Okay,
reimbursable.
sure.
I
Does
agree.
that sound reasonable to
Okay.
y'all?
Okay, all right.
That's reasonable to me.
20.
Good call.
Thank you, ma'am.
Reading that, yeah.
I agree.
All right. Okay, so then you get into the next one, the category for legal expenses. General legal expenses is for just general attorney fees, 30,000. Basically the same thing as what we had last year. Legal reimbursable, a little bit less at 3,000. Litigation, 50,000 still.
I would like to know how realistic that is, that we're gonna be out another 50,000, Mr. Kent Wymore?
If the lawsuit continues, very.
Okay,
Another question, under special cases, what does that entail exactly? It's 22,000
Let
right
me
now.
put you in just
Okay.
quit chewing.
Yeah.
So
That
it,
is actually our attorney that is negotiating the franchise agreement with the Aqua Texas.
It has nothing to do with litigation.
No,
no,
no.
No.
that's specialized services,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that is just a.
That's the Aqua Texas.
Okay, you move a little bit too fast on litigation.
Okay.
All right, so I understand we have to budget. All right. I have a concern that what is our contingency in the event Mr. Pooley were to prevail, because he has added monetary damages
He
to his
has.
lawsuit.
Um,
And so the $50,000 is to pay for the city to defend
Legal fees.
itself against
Right.
Mr. Pooley's lawsuit. But there is a claim against the city of up to $100,000 in his amended lawsuit. So what is the contingency?
I
for
would
the city?
say,
And again, I am not going to pass judgment on the merits of the case on either side of the case, but, and then there's also the issue of if we were to go into court, if we were to go into trial, additional court costs. So we have to, this is budget time. We have to look at the future. You know, people are saying, oh my God, the city has a budget over $1 million, cut. And we have these things looming in the future. And we have to be, I guess they come from our reserves.
Well, right now, under
8,900.
I got 50,000 just as a contingency reserve.
Okay.
And there are several things under 8,900 that could be cut should
Right.
we have to actually shell out $100,000 on the loss of a lawsuit.
Yeah, if we were to.
So-
So I'm going to give some general advice, and if you want to get more specific, then we always have the option to retire into executive session, because I'm not going to opine on
Thank you.
some specific, but under Texas law, a few years ago, there was, in Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, there was something added called Rule 47. What Rule 47 requires is that any plaintiff that files a lawsuit must plead their damage range. At the time that Brent filed this lawsuit, the damage ranges were 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to 200,000, 200,000 to $1 million, or $1 million plus. You must plead one of those. So what Brent did is he put in the lowest level of 0 to 100,000. In his lawsuit, he's not seeking any actual monetary damages from the city. He's only seeking recovery of attorney's fees. Based on what I know at this point, Brent has not incurred any attorney's fees. He has not paid any money out of pocket to any attorney to litigate this case for or with him. He's simply putting his own time and energy into litigating that case.
But are his professional hours not billable? My understanding is they are.
Mhm.
Can you refute
He's
that?
representing himself.
I will leave it at this, that the city has made arguments that is not a viable measure or way to seek recovery of attorney's fees unless one pays them out of pocket. I'll put it this way: in the lawsuit, the city disputes that he has a valid claim to recover attorney's fees.
Yes. I'm not going to
He
go to the
also-
merits of the case. I'm just talking from a budgeting
Yes.
perspective for the cities for the next fiscal year.
So
So he also, because of not pleading in his initial filing for a monetary amount other than the range of the 0 to 100,000, that was, I believe that was, maybe you could tell us this, I don't think it affects anything we have to go into private meeting about. But was that not the reason that we were not able to be represented by TML attorneys? Because he did not plead the threshold of recovery that would have allowed us to have our attorney fees or our attorney representation through TML.
Brent has not, nor has he ever made a claim for actual monetary damages against the city such that TML would
Okay.
step in
I
and
just
cut
wanted to
and
be
cover the
certain.
claim. It is,
That is-
the lawsuit merely says, change your behavior and pay me back for the time I've invested in the lawsuit.
Okay?
So
So are you thinking that this amount is a rational or reasonable amount without ruling on it? But is there anything that says this amount that we're suggesting that we reserve?
I think the budget
Reasonable.
I think the budget on this point is fine for now. And if at some point in the future, the
Okay.
analysis changes, we can work on that.
And are you comfortable with 8,900, all those contingency fees being adequate? Should we go over and above? We'll just start taking things off.
We'll just we'll
That's,
just
Okay.
have to start taking.
Are you all fine with moving on that then? Okay. Thank you, Bud.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, on IT services, reduce that by $1,500. I met with our IT service yesterday, and it looks like we might actually get a decrease instead of an increase.
I ask you this every year, but I'm going to ask it again. How is this IT different from the IT that is in office?
Okay, IT in office is the actual physical computers, equipment, everything we have.
Okay.
This is IT that is monitoring our systems. They're on call if we have a problem, anything else.
Okay,
So this is the people, the other one's the equipment.
got it.
Does that include the audio, visual, everything, our website, monitoring website issues too?
Well, no, because the
Is that another
website is
service?
through, we pay a different fee for that
Okay, that's a different service.
under our software and subscriptions.
Okay,
This is actually making sure that Danny doesn't do anything wrong on this computer.
okay.
Or anything else. And it's just monitoring our systems and making sure it catches all the spam mail, everything else. And that's those people that are running all that stuff. And if we have a problem with one of our computers, they go in and fix it, things like that.
Okay. So we're going to reduce that by 1,500, you said?
Well, because after meeting with them, I don't think we might see a decrease.
So about 14,400.
We'll go back to 14,500. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I see a decrease of about $5,000 overall
In professional services.
in professional services. Yes.
And accounting is going to remain the same?
Yes, because basically
That's our QuickBooks accounting.
that is, and then also helping with the audit, things like that. So,
Okay, got it.
okay, real quick, deer removal, $1,000. That's
Okay, yeah.
mowing.
The person you use charges $75 per removal. In some cases, 100.
Right.
But 75.
75.
75. And so that gives you about 12 removals a year.
I would like for that to say dead deer removal because we can't relocate the live ones for that.
How about expired?
That sounds like bow hunting. That's,
And I'm
Remember
telling you
remember the bow hunter?
Yeah.
I'm telling you that
You remember
the
that?
part of
Yeah,
the
but I remember
overpopulation
I
issue
didn't
is
see that.
citizens,
Maybe
they're
press
jumping the fences.
Oh,
They are getting impaired. I've had 2 on my fence within the last 2 years. I have a number of people, so
yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And as long as they get it to the city property where we can get it, then that's when we call.
everyone is on.
Right.
But I will say that, and this is something that we may want to consider. We've had some people in Woodcreek they have contacted me and I have his number in my phone. But maybe there's a place that we can notify the citizens if they have.
The problem with that is we are giving them the authority to expend city funds.
No, notify so that people, if they have one stuck in their fence, who do they call?
Oh, okay, sure.
Just a notification.
Yeah, they
to
just call the
service
sheriff's department.
citizens.
Yeah, they call the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the sheriff department doesn't remove the deer, they just kill it.
That's right. But the gentleman that does our deer removal won't remove it unless it's on private, unless he charges for private property removal, because he won't remove it unless the city requests if it's on city property.
Right away.
No,
Right
but
away.
he will remove it. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
some notification, some assistance to the citizens because it is an issue.
Can I say something?
Sure.
It's not budget.
Yes, Linda, you can.
Would you like to be
We recognize her, madam.
recognized city secretary?
We have had people who've had a dead deer in their backyard, and they provide me with their phone number or contact information. I call the gentleman and give him the contact information, and he calls them
Okay,
to see
good.
if they're interested.
You do it. That's it. That's all I
Work
wanted
it
to
out
know.
personally.
You are.
They
Thank
call
you.
me, so
Right.
This issue is obviously very near and dear
This
to
is
your heart.
you have to live in Woodcreek. When you come out your back door and there are 35 deer
Oh.
on number 7
Oh.
fairway.
I've called our community a sanctuary city for deer because they just all,
Okay.
I had
Okay.
a gray fox in my front yard last night.
I had a skunk.
You what?
I had a skunk. A little baby skunk crossing the road. Little bitty baby.
Yeah.
I just tried to avoid it. I said, I don't care where you go, you just can't stay here.
No. Oh, my.
Okay, mowing, we know what that is.
All right, so this we have a landscape maintenance company that comes in that mows the main parks. We don't have anyone that actually mows like the islands where the trees are.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about the Women Championship.
Well, and let me just say something about mowing. When we put 2 parks in, we're gonna be needing this
Well,
to go up
yes,
there.
and that's-
dramatically.
but when I did put in under the playground maintenance under 6,500.24, which we've never budgeted that. I put 30,000 for maintenance.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's
So-
There
provided
is a
elsewhere.
place
It's
in there
provided elsewhere.
already.
What I was
Okay.
going to say is there's
For
a
the park.
possibility we could take out or reduce it back to the $1,000 on the 0.15.
Yeah, because we got minimal that
Yeah.
area.
Our contract people come in and do the main areas. We have had citizens that will maintain the island out for their property. They go out and mow it for us, but that goes back to volunteers.
Yeah, well, I
But-
think we ought to plan for it, and if they do it, then hallelujah.
So just leave it.
Yeah.
Also, under the playground maintenance, was that partially a good faith thing put in there because of the possible POSAC grant showing that we would
Yes,
be
Yes.
maintaining it?
we have the city has committed to the maintenance of the playground areas, everything.
Which is the $30,000.
Yes.
That's part of the.
65.20.
65.20. Oakville outreach.
I have a question about this because I have this magnificent idea I'd like to pose.
All right.
Because we have so much oak wilt in the city, I read about a program in a small city about our size where when people had to remove a dead oak wilt disease tree, that the city, within 6 months of that time, if they would replace that tree with a tree that was not subject to oak wilt, would rebate them $300. And I thought it's a great program because if we keep losing trees to oak wilt, we're not going to be this quiet, sleepy little.
It's just gonna be creek.
Yeah. And if you drive, I mean, literally,
Instead
if
of
you
wood.
drive out
Yeah.
toward Harper, past Fredericksburg toward Harper, where it is literally taken over thousands of
Yeah.
acres, there it sticks. It's just dead sticks everywhere. And I thought it would be a program that I think everybody could get behind, regardless of people's political affiliation or whatever. I think it's something that the city should think about, should take. Maybe it would be, I mean, that means that if we're going to require someone to take down a dead tree, that we're going to help them put in another tree that is not subject to oak wilt. And I had one put in when I moved on Doolittle that is a Monterey oak, which is not subject to that. And I had it put in for $600. So that means the homeowner would bear half the cost and the city could do a reimbursement program.
And if they have to cut down the tree, it's gonna cost them between $500 and $600 to have the tree cut down and removed.
Yes.
And so then they have to go and purchase a tree and get somebody to plant it. That's gonna be another probably $500 to $600. So it is some help. And I think, and we have some areas of the city where they have cut down the trees and we have just the stumps and nothing was replaced there. So it would help us you're right, it would help us in the long
So
run.
would the homeowner have to commit to putting a tree
They don't
before
get-
the
they don't get
city
the
would
rebate
do
until-
it?
Correct.
Because
It'd
they
be
might
just
not
like
have
any
the-
other
they
rebate
might not
program.
have
They'd
the
have
money,
to,
you know, to-
it'd be like any other rebate program. They
Yeah.
have to show proof of having the tree removed. They would have to show proof of purchase of a new tree and planting.
Yeah.
And we'd have to know what kind of tree it was because we don't want to replace them with oaks.
Well, not these
Yeah.
oaks.
The obligation of replanting a new tree may be beyond the means for certain people, but the opportunity to plant another tree would certainly be welcome.
Well, I looked at, the golf course removed 21 trees on number 11 this year. 21 trees to oak wilt. And I thought, if you look at that across the city and it's spreading and you can see it, it's evident that it's spreading. If we just put $30,000 into a contingency for that, to where that would be 100 trees replanted in our city. And if it gets used and everybody validates the use of it, that's great. And if it doesn't, it's just money there.
I think it's a great idea to put it in.
I think that we need,
It would be a really good thing for the city, but I don't know how it would be. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know exactly how it would be implemented or whether it could be in a budget item or not, but I like it.
Even if we cannot do the 30,000, if we could do half of that, we're still looking at items. We have items on our contingency that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think we have to have priorities. And one of the things that make Woodcreek special is I remember Pat Rawlings, the first time I met him, telling me that when he came to the city and he saw the canopy of trees, and that he knew this is the place for him to stay. And he talked about it being a great place for telecommuters because you're in this beautiful environment and you can work from your home. So this is one of the things that I have heard a lot of new people who are moving into the city speak to why they moved here. So why not invest in the future of the city?
It certainly
I mean, trees are not.
certainly shows the interest
So
in the
Jeff has-
community.
Well, just-
Yeah.
I think we need to consider it and bring it back. And maybe if we have to go through a council meeting or finalize the budget and see where we can cut other items. I have some ideas of what we can cut.
Yeah, well, even to broaden it, and speaking of Pat Rawlings, he just went in with the golf course and split the difference on doing some dredging.
Reading.
And-
He gives them some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it out of pocket again. If you just had a pool of money that people could apply for, whether it's to replace a tree or whether it's to protect, trees that are in, especially they're like crossing over. It's like you don't want to get into any arguments with the neighbor.
Let's
But
put up
I mean,
all-
we don't need to be protected. And we used to carry a budget of, $15,000 or so, just
Not
to
15.
do dredging. And the city was going, just putting money into oak wilt.
Well, what I was going to say,
Containment.
if we put it in there, I remember when we had to remove 3 trees from Augusta Park, the city, and we had to amend the budget to do that because there was nothing budgeted. So it could even be used for that, for this oak wilt on city property.
Well, so where council members and others were suggesting budget items, this would be an item you suggested. So I don't see why we couldn't add this to the budget.
So if we put it as a budget item, would it require a resolution to implement a program?
We would have to have some guidelines, yes, for the
Okay,
program itself.
Yeah, something along the lines of, I think you would want to limit the species of
see.
tree. You don't want someone
Right.
to put in a
cedar.
cedar or the skirt,
Pine-
or
a pine tree.
something that's 12
Arizona
inches.
has
Yeah, exactly.
Monterey oaks. They're
Yeah.
great.
They're
They're faster
super
growing.
fast.
Yeah.
So we could maybe work on that, but could we go ahead and
Could we add
budget
to the
it?
budget?
Could we
Sure.
put a budget
Yeah,
item in
Absolutely.
here?
Placeholder. And
Absolutely.
start low, start at 15,000, and then we'll see, maybe we'll have some more money next time.
Well, so
Okay.
it looks like everyone agrees to add tree mitigation / oak wilt. Do you want to call it oak wilt or you want to call it a tree mitigation?
It says
program?
Oak Wilt Outreach.
Yeah, so is outreach just communication about Oak Ridge?
Yeah.
Was that the thing?
Well, that's what the idea was, because there is,
But don't you,
information out there for that,
but
but
don't you think that offering a rebate program is an outreach of such?
sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kind
absolutely.
of.
But I
Yeah.
think we need to be.
I just didn't know what the
we need to-
$1,000 was,
That's
Oh.
what the vision was
We
for the
probably don't
$1,000.
need to change the name of the item, but I think it would be
What-
important that we do
what
talk
did they
about
call
it
it
in
in
terms
that
of what
other
the
city?
idea is behind it, which
That-
is a rebate versus, just, letting
I-
people know about.
I
And
can't,
guess what Oak
they
Wilt's coming.
called it, it really wasn't Oak Wilt. It wasn't an Oak Wilt program. I just related it to us
Right.
because we have Oak Wilt. They had it was different for that city, but the city was small and they agreed on 300 per tree
Yeah, maybe pine
replacement.
beetles or whatever.
Yeah. So,
It sounds like everybody's in agreement to.
okay,
We had, I put 15,000.
15,000.
I
Okay.
think
And
with
15,000 was
15,000.
what everybody.
Is that a new line item or are we going to use 6,500.20?
6,500.20, up to 14,000.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
There you go.
Somebody likes my idea.
Yay.
Thank you.
It's a great idea.
And then we can
One of
make it
these
part-
days
part
we'll
of- we
talk
can-
about
we can
the
make that also
mailboxes.
part of the tree
Oh, I
ordinance.
know.
We can also include that in our tree ordinance as,
Oh,
because we
yes.
have a requirement in there
Yes.
that they replace it for the replacement of trees. So since they're working on that, to modify it, we can put something there too. Once-
Yeah, we can
once
have
it
that
gets
get back to the
That's a good-
ordinance review.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
approved. Okay,
6,522, 10,000, that's landscape maintenance, that's basically our
Playground
contractor that comes
maintenance?
in.
Yeah.
That mows, the entryway, both sides, Triangle and also Augusta Park. Contract services, gosh,
where contract services, thank you, playground maintenance. Okay, you're 22, 23, 24.
yes. Playground maintenance, that was the placeholder, if funded through the POSAC grant.
What is contract services?
Oh,
You skipped over that?
No, I was getting ready to read it.
Oh, okay, please
I was
do.
also answering.
Because it seems like that's not the road maintenance and it's not the mowing, so it's got to be something.
Yes.
What is?
All right,
And-
6,500.23. That was actually where we had to have the ropes replaced on the flagpoles.
Yeah.
Oh,
I actually was thinking
Yeah,
about that.
and
the
so
guy that
basically,
came
and
to
also
fix
if
the
we need, yeah,
flagpoles.
so, yeah.
Can we not
well, let's,
can we not pay that from 6,000.11 contract labor and eliminate that?
that's what I think.
Sure.
I agree.
Okay.
You
And
have
does
two
it,
contract
and I don't think it needs to be $2,000.
Well, I think we just eliminate the whole thing.
I
think
agree.
you leave it,
Yep.
you don't have, just leave contract labor where it's at, 6,500.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
Just
All right.
delete 65.23.
Yeah, delete 6,500.23.
Okay,
Every little bit counts.
It does.
Yeah.
all right, playground maintenance, 30,000, we talked about that, that's just a placeholder, funded. Right of way tree trimming is that we are now, trimming the trees back to 16 foot above the roadway, 2 foot back.
Okay.
And also we have, how many trees do we estimate we need to have removed?
I think, well, for sure, like 5.
I want to talk about that because we have been doing this every year. And I did some research about cities in the area, in the central Texas area, large, medium, and I also utilities.
Mhm.
And what I found was that most of them have a program. Of course, the cities are larger, so they rotate, but they have a program. Austin, for example, every 4 years. Trees will be, they go around. So a tree, Pedernales, 3 years. So it seems to be, I was wondering, is this something that we can do on a biennial basis? I mean, we all have trees in our yard. I know you have to have the canopy for the school buses, for the delivery trucks, and take care of the trees that need removal, because we have some trees that are dead that need to be removed, but skip a year and save some dollars?
And to answer that is basically because of the canopy we have, that we try to maintain it at the 16 foot. This last year was the first time we ever went to 16 foot. Usually we were at like 14 foot.
So we're at 16.
We're at 16 now. Now you look, if we have a good year, so it doesn't say it has to be spent, but if we have a good year for growing, some of these trees could grow up to 5 foot more.
Yeah.
So basically then they're below what is required by the rules of the road. And so it's one of these things, if it's dry season, we would never have to spend it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we just, when did we do the trimming?
January?
January.
January.
April?
January.
January?
So could we skip a year?
Can we skip a year?
Saying-
It depends on the
Save
growth of the
20,000.
trees and what complaints we get.
Well, can you, between now and the next time that we meet to discuss budget, can somebody take a look at it, you know?
Well, or see how many trees.
Is there a difference between cutting them back to from 13 to 16 and maintaining 16?
Okay, we maintain 16 foot above the roadway.
I get it. But we used to maintain 13 and then we cut them back to 16.
Well, 13 didn't meet state requirements
Well, so we took them to 16.
because we had too many complaints.
So
Yes.
now that we've got them at 16, because it obviously took us more money to get them in here to cut them back that
Yeah.
3 feet. Will the maintenance cost us the same amount of money to maintain that 16 foot? No,
Well, no, I'm thinking here.
I'll negotiate it.
If we cut them back to 17 feet, then we would have the 16 feet for that spare year.
And the thing is, it's all basically, if we start getting complaints from UPS, the school buses, because if you see, we didn't trim any trees
Yeah, but,
in 18-19.
but UPS, school buses.
They don't
Oh,
need
by the way, I
16
also
feet.
check
They're only on the
Wimberley. They
main
don't do
road.
it every year.
Yeah.
So with these vehicles that you're mentioning are Austin,
Well-
Wimberley, Kyle, Buda. They all travel to those
Sure.
cities,
And
and they do not have an annual program.
no, and I think one thing that we did this year that was better than last year,
Huh?
because we weren't trimming 2 foot back off the roadway.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
it.
different
That's a
story.
different story.
But that's why I said, because we
How about,
broadened,
how about we between now and our next meeting, take a look at where the conditions are and see how we can.
Well,
Not every street on the city needs to be, you talk about school buses. School buses don't come to Wilson Circle or Palmer Lane. They have prescribed routes on Champions. They drop the kids, school buses. Trash, I would talk to the ones that probably,
well,
Waste Connections.
Waste Connection says they will break any limb we want them to.
They will do what?
Break any limb they want to.
and they
You know
have.
that- You have that gentleman. talk-
Oh, yes,
talk
but
to us.
basically, they say if it's below the requirement, they'll break the limb off.
So basically, really.
Well, but I want us to talk to them, right now.
Well,
Where are conditions for them right now?
sure. And I know that in certain areas, and this goes back to when we had the contractor the last time, that they went through and there's a lot of bushes that were overhanging, things like that. Now, I have no problem going back to $5,000 and just do the dead tree removal and see what it would take. And even turn back on the property owner and say, trim your bushes back.
Yes. We've done that
Please.
before.
We've done that before.
We've done that before.
And I know, I saw them when they came down my neighborhood. There was very little work, very little trimming done there because so why don't we try it?
Well, I have no problem going to $5,000 and then we just make sure
Okay.
that people
Okay.
maintain their own trees and then do
Sounds good.
dead tree removal.
I have a different idea.
Okay.
Okay.
How about, since we spent 15 this year, let's allocate half of that for next year. So that one year we're doing the big picture and the next year we're doing half the amount of money to just clean up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's, so it's in every.
So
other-
you're doing,
it's in-
we did 15 this year.
So
so we
75.
did
7,500.
7,500.
That
So
sound
this is a
reasonable?
cleanup year, and then next year is a
Exactly.
big
Yeah.
check the
Yeah.
how tall they are,
And
and
get-
if they're back to 16.
Because if you have 10, it's gonna cost you about $500 per tree to remove. So, and I think you have more than 10, so 7,500 is a good number. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That's a
Yep.
good idea.
Okay.
Both of you.
Holiday decorations, how come we went up $1,000?
What depends on what everybody wants to do.
Let's
We
bring,
lost our tree.
Less.
We lost our tree last year.
We gotta buy a new one?
Well, actually, that was one that we manufactured ourselves, but the buck got into it, tore everything down.
Well, why would
And actually, Bob did all the
no.
electrician, didn't you go
Well,
over and
I
take
I
care of
helped
the
Linda, yes.
Here's what I
Didn't
think
do
we
all
should
this.
do
the
here.
electrical work?
I think that $2,000 is plenty to spend on holiday decorations,
Sure.
and the parks can volunteer to do the work.
you have the deer.
I think the Parks Department should volunteer to put out the
You
decorations.
mean the parks
And
board?
But yes,
Not, okay, not the parks department, because
the park, that is the Parks Department in the
Park
city.
department kind of backs up
I
the
mean,
city hall.
they
That's
had-
not the idea.
They had mentioned it in one of their meetings.
They had, yeah.
And so how about if we back it down to 2,000
Sure.
and that's our annual budget and it is what it is?
They can get substantial volunteers to assist as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got the
I'd be
whole, we got
happy.
the whole Friends of Woodcreek Parks.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
right. And there, and
I'm
people
an
have really offered
They
to do
are, they're,
this
you know,
year.
they
We
would,
didn't have that last year.
Those of us who lived in this city a long time, we remember when we had a mayor and her last name was Whitehead. And she would do, there would be a call to the community to decorate.
yes,
Yes.
we know.
There would be a call to
There
the
was.
community to decorate.
All
And
right.
decorated, we decorated City Hall,
Mhm.
and there was, I don't know whether, there were some cookies, and we went out and
Lots of
decorated as
cookies.
a group. And one of the things that I have missed in this city through the years as we grow is that community involvement. The nearest that I've seen recently was the front entrance, the landscaping of the front
Mhm.
entrance. It was wonderful to see people with their shovels and their golf carts and how beautiful it is.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
Let's do it that way. Let's make it a community event.
I'm pretty sure that Maureen and Linda would argue with that.
Oh,
Did
they-
the,
Well,
Maureen and Linda are the ones that I see
Well,
put in the, Maureen is
well,
on
what
the-
I-
Maureen and
only thing I
Linda
wanna
are the
bring
ones
up-
that it backed up on to City Hall. to do it, and
Exactly.
It wasn't a
Because,
volunteer effort.
what was it, three,
This
4
year it
years
was Maureen
ago,
and Linda.
we
Yeah.
did the call to the citizens to come help put out the deer, decorate and everything else.
I
We have
made
not-
bows. I did everything.
We have not had
I worked.
anybody volunteer, so if we can have somebody head it up.
Well, I think
I
Parks
can't-
and Recreation would be
I've been
great
we
to
talked to
head it
Pat,
up. And
Pat,
then,
uh-huh.
we
We
talked
That's
to
why I
Pat
said
and
I
they'll
think,
get- but
I
let's
think
go.
that the parks, this could be a parks thing. Y'all got this much money.
Yeah.
Figure out
and
what to
give them
do
a
with
little
it.
extra money.
did the buck that tore up the tree take part in the expired deer program?
We did find one of them,
He did
we
not.
did
Okay.
find one of the does like laying over on the side too, so. All right, so under the street maintenance, okay, this is basically pothole patch.
Oh, my gosh, wow.
There's not much.
And,
There's nothing to say
and,
there. We gotta do it.
but that's just pothole patching, and what that's also included when we had the county come in and do it, things like that. So that's why it varies so much.
Yeah, well, that's too much.
And so, but basically, what is shown is the cost of the materials. And we get those materials cost about $900 for 55 bags, I think it is, or 60. And then that's the labor to put it, to go out and patch.
$900 for materials and $42,000 for labor.
Well, no. No. What I'm saying
I want that job.
yeah.
But what I'm
We'll
saying is,
volunteer.
since we have Woodcreek Drive budgeted, but the rest of it's just gonna be kind of general maintenance, unless you want to bring the county in to try to do some of the, where it's breaking off on the side, the edge breaks, things like that. So
Well, we
That's
wanted to
where-
bring the county, but the county never
county's
has
been
had
too
the
busy.
time or
The
And we
county,
waited.
Kind of done.
So I would say,
They don't come.
I hate reducing street maintenance. I would not go more than 20,000 just to do pothole patch.
20,000?
Yeah.
Just do the potholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh.
so we still have a guy that's going around plugging potholes?
Uh-huh.
Hold it.
Oh, we don't?
No, we don't have, no.
He quit?
That was hard work.
That's not.
He quit. I didn't know he quit.
No, we haven't patched potholes for,
Well, if it pays 42,000,
it
I'll do
does
it.
not, it does not pay $20 an hour.
What time can I show up?
So, but no, it's back again. It's trying to
Well,
find the
it'd
staff.
be time to
We
get
did
the
have
roads
somebody-
fixed.
We did have somebody go out and patch potholes that we have no idea who it was.
I know who it was.
They
You do?
they patch potholes on Champion Circle.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
we don't know who it
Yes.
was.
It's a very, I actually saw it, a young, I haven't seen that,
Who
a
was it?
middle-aged man, very disgruntled. He said, they're not going to do it, I'll do it myself.
Who was
Yeah,
it?
I can't remember.
Rob Sosha.
It was about,
Who?
Rob Sosha.
Well, you
About
know,
4 or 5 months
he
ago.
put some asphalt in a hole on Brook Hollow on a concrete.
are you talking right in the middle
Yeah.
there, near Augusta?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
should've been concrete.
ridiculous.
Isn't that against the law?
Well, I mean,
Really?
that's what happens when you leave it to volunteer.
That's when somebody just does it on their own.
I know.
So that wasn't a volunteer.
No, that was,
But
yeah, he
mostly,
voluntarily got out and did it.
I'd say, reduce that back 30,000 right now.
Back to 30 or back to
20.
20? Yes, I
Back to
totally
20.
agree. And especially, I mean, if we went back to the roads and streets plans, we're gonna back all street maintenance way down on the years that we rebuilt.
Yep.
So I think that number needs to stay down. And if we're not gonna build a new one next year, then that number needs to go
Okay,
up so that we can literally do contractual work to get some of our maintenance.
Do we have a job listing or something for replacement guy?
We haven't advertised on.
Well, that's something we should look into.
We still have that on the website?
Because it looks like we've got a lot of budget left over in this year.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and the maintenance can't just go unnoticed.
No.
I mean, truthfully, y'all.
So, yeah, a guy walked up to me the other day, introduced himself, and he said, the only problem I have with the city is the pothole in front of my driveway.
I want to go give that guy a kiss because he's the only one in town that's his
He's like-
only
he's like-
complaint.
He's like, if I could just, because it splashes water on my wife's car, and I mean, if I could just
Give
get
me
that,
his
if I
address.
could just get that pothole fixed, that would make my life. And I said, we have somebody that does that. I'll just go ahead and turn that in.
I have a,
You did have someone.
I
Yeah,
did have someone.
I have a contact, of a situation on Brookside where the area beyond the concrete, it flows over Brookside. There's a creek and it flows over the concrete and continues on as a creek down towards Brook Meadow. And that particular area is especially, how do you put it? Wasting away, I suppose. It's
yeah,
It is.
And it's not a very long area, but
Brook
when we
Meadow
look at it in terms of
Brookside.
Brookside.
Brookside, yeah.
But that,
We're gonna talk about that when we get to the drainage.
yes,
That is one of the 4 areas that went in the 10-year road repair
Yes.
plan that was approved in 2017.
yes,
Included dealing with the drainage in 4 particular areas of the city. And that is one of them.
but that Brookside place cannot be done with asphalt. It's got to be concrete
And it
because
will.
of the water pressure that comes down that hill.
I've
It-
seen.
Asphalt won't last.
It
It
won't
has to be concrete.
I
And
will
then you're
have
gonna
fix it.
get the citizens screaming and yelling about $1 million bridge.
Okay,
So,
Mr. Lewis,
Yes, ma'am.
so could we,
Keep going.
could
Sorry.
we maybe take these in a leap and as a group and get through?
Well,
those?
I think we get through it pretty quick and get down to the
I want to
big
get
meat
to
ones.
the
Because
area
everything
that-
else is pretty well,
the
you know,
miscellaneous important ones that
so far,
it's a straight,
they want to talk about.
Street went to 20 now.
right, and I'm down to, the reduction of 29,500 before we get to the next page.
Okay,
Street signs, that's just our replacement program. We still need to replace a bunch of them.
do it. Stop putting $4,000 in the budget if you're not gonna do it.
This is our problem. We had one guy that.
Okay.
He quit. Okay, so basically, under our area care and maintenance, I reduced it by $29,500.
Oh, that's good.
What number are you on?
I just went down to
6,500.
6,500. I skipped all the way
6,500.
because,
29.5.
yeah, because the
That's fine.
equipment maintenance is just, fuel stuff for the mule and then, water quality testing for the,
Yeah.
that probably should go up,
Okay,
but, well, that's minor adjustment. Okay, so,
7,000.
our 7,000 tax expense is set by the budget, for the, building inspections, that should go up.
Yes.
On the other side, we went up, what, 50%?
Uh-huh. So
Okay.
this should go
So you'll
up to
make
about
that adjustment?
16, which is what we
It should
spent.
go up to,
It should go up to,
Well, it looks like if you average it, it should at least be around 12.5.
yeah.
Good.
let's go 12,500.
Okay.
Just make it easy.
Mhm.
12,550. That's easier than in my
9,500.
head. $4,000 increase.
Okay.
Then code compliance. We spent that one time for removing that swimming pool, things like that.
Oh, so,
It's where we have to go in physically take care of it ourselves.
yeah, so we
And
got to
build
leave
back.
something there.
Yes.
Something's got to stay there.
Dues and memberships. That's all of our dues that we have. CapCog, anything that we have. That's
Got it.
So that's pretty well basic.
We have dues and membership elsewhere as well.
We got TML dues down there. That is by law. We have to show it broken out.
Okay.
No, I mean, under,
Dues
we
and
have dues and membership in another category.
Where?
Where?
I'm gonna find it. You just move on. I'll find it.
Election expense. I think, didn't they estimate $1,000 this year, Linda?
They did.
Okay. So that's minus $1,200.
Or
Election expense. They estimate our election cost $1,000. TML dues, meeting expenses, public notices. It just depends on what has to be published. That probably could be back down to 3,000.
Elected body travel, 1,000.
Okay.
Yes.
We don't need 5,000.
No, we do not.
And let's see
I
here.
don't think anybody's ever traveled.
Bastrop, I went to Bastrop and San
You can go to-
Antonio.
Or you can go
So that's if
TML,
you
you
go
go
someplace
to
and
Region
and
10
swap a mileage
meetings.
reimbursement.
That's 1,000.
I mean,
Okay.
I didn't ask the city for nothing. I'm a volunteer. I'll drive to Bastrop, big deal.
Oh, what about our trips to Vegas and stuff?
I forgot to turn that in.
Comparative cost analysis.
This is on the
$1,000
recorded
should be enough.
I know.
meeting notes.
1,000?
Yeah.
We've
Yes.
had a lot of training this year, and some of us are getting repeated training. And I think we need I think we need to focus on newly elected.
Well, and I brought this up earlier. Actually, it says the elected body, but we did training this year for everybody that wasn't elected.
That's right. We've trained.
Every commissioner, every Parks Board
we
member,
trained everybody.
every
So basically,
comprehensive
the
plan.
question is, do you want us to break out to another category under there?
No.
That's why we had it all under elected, because it was either
But
board,
I think that
commission,
next
or
year we need to be more conservative, because we did a
No.
lot of training this year. We did training on open records. We
Everything.
did training on parliamentary procedure. We did training and I don't, unless we have a significant change if we have a significant change on council, we have new members of council, then you do training for those new members. But the rest of the people who are still here, we don't have to go.
Yeah, all the boards and commissions
Yeah.
were, and the various
So instead,
advisory groups, everybody was invited to get trained this year. So
instead
I
of
think
elected
everybody-
body, could we put that new members or something?
And I'd say, cut it in half.
Is it cost per person or is it cost per presentation?
okay, so.
That's
Well,
another
part of
issue.
it here.
Okay, so when we had City Hall Essentials here.
Yeah.
And did the training there, that was for the training session itself.
Presentation itself.
But then they also have the online training. That's $50 per person.
Yeah.
And then this also includes if somebody wants to go to TML, any of their
There's
training sessions, there's newly elected officials training, so the annual conference, things like that.
And something I personally don't know how this is handled internally, administratively, but I don't believe that one person should be able to use our whole budget. And I saw it happen one year that I've been on council, that one person went to every training they could go to, and the rest of us didn't go to anything. So I think that administratively, there needs to be some kind of cap.
We agreed on that time that if we had a flat fee, and it was, let's say, there's 5 council members and the mayor, there's 6, and if it's $3,000, we each get 1/6 of that.
Right.
If we don't use it, if you have somebody who's had this training repeatedly and says, no, I am not going to use any, then a newer member, there may be opportunity, but it should be
It's appropriated.
appropriated per person.
I agree.
Like $3,000, $500 per person. $2,000, whatever that comes.
As far as, are you talking about going on TML and different of those kinds of travel
Yes.
trips?
So-
Nobody in this council has gone at all.
No,
Not on the
No,
current
but
council, no, they
we-
have not.
Not
been all-
anyone in this current
That's,
council.
Been all online.
Now, when you go back to,
That's-
They
if
haven't done
somebody,
any live meetings.
I'm gonna go back to elected officials travel.
There are.
yes,
Okay, so if you go to a TML conference, then you have housing costs.
I'm just gonna say this, though, almost everything is being it's being offered virtually now. And my personal opinion is, all of these numbers could come way, way down,
yes.
because almost any training can be done virtually at this time.
I think that when you are an elected official and you are asking you're spending the tax dollars, everything we do, our citizens are paying for. And we are not doing things for this, because of the funds are limited. We should start with ourselves.
I agree.
We should start with ourselves.
And I think it's different from elected officials and the employees. The employees are paid staff. They need to be up on everything. We as elected officials literally can either do it virtually or appropriate some of our own funds.
We just have to be certain that we have enough funds budgeted for all of the mandatory requirements. And they're mandatory requirements of both staff and employees and new elected officials. So as long as the number sufficiently covers the mandatory requirements,
And
I think that,
$2,000.
needs to
No, I
happen.
would, I'm sorry, but I think it's good that our elected officials and commissioners and board members are wanting to go and learn more, and if the budget is there, they will do it. If the budget is not there, it's just going to go, well, I can't afford it. I mean, I think you keep the budget the way it is, encourage us to use it, whether virtually or otherwise, but put the limit on it. It's just like, it's an allocation per member, but don't cut the budget, just allocate it better. And if you don't spend it, you don't spend it. If you don't think you need it, don't go. But,
Most of the
I would
time-
like to learn more about being a better city council member.
Mostly those,
Have you attended
Education.
anything this year?
I have.
What? Did you go to TML?
I haven't gone to TML, no.
No, TML has not
We
been
haven't
held
had
until
any
October
virtual.
now this year.
we
No,
haven't had.
I've done
any.
this,
Yeah.
I've done the City Hall Essentials programs. I've got another one that's coming up in early September. I looked at TML. I don't know if I want to go and be in a live event,
No, we don't
But-
either. Yeah.
but would I do it virtually? I mean, I certainly would.
Well, I'm a big believer of educational opportunity, and everybody knows that I wanted to do that. That's probably why this last couple of years we've spent quite a bit more on City Hall Essentials, why we had, a large training for all the board members and the commissions and even the
We can-
comprehensive plan group, I thought it was really important that we have that money spent on education. If you think that this is too much, well then certainly make those adjustments, but I wouldn't like to see it cut drastically.
I think every.
And we're saying half. We're saying
Maybe half,
Half?
maybe half
Yeah,
that
it's at
cost,
16,000 right now.
Yeah.
say half.
Eight-
What's at 16,000?
What's the 16?
If you include the travel and the
You
training,
cut the travel budget by 4,000 already. Don't cut
We
the
have cut
education
travel.
budget.
This
So-
is, I think that we can make, all right, we were very generous this year. We had a lot of new board members, new commission members, and we did a lot of wonderful training. I enjoyed the training that was done here in this place. I'm not saying that we do not provide educational opportunities. There are some things, the requirements such as Texas open records, open meetings, you get those for free through the Office of the Attorney General. And why can we not make decision that we will continue the training, but we will focus on online training? $50 per person is a lot different than what we paid for some training that was $500 for one council member. That's unacceptable. And the training that is online is good. I have taken some of those courses to refresh myself, and it's good. And I think that we start with ourselves. Why go to TML? I look at their agenda. It's basically a gathering, so you see people from other cities and you talk. So, no, we restricted $2,000 and we focus on distance training and
Do you take all your continuing legal education online?
online.
But if you could go, I mean, if you could go back 2 years,
No.
you just never go to a meeting.
Oh, I mean, in my opinion, it is a waste of my day to get up, get dressed, drive, sit in a room where they're gonna make me take breaks, go have lunch.
Eat.
Yeah, I just,
and then the
what-
hotel on top
I
of
pay,
that.
I pay for my CLE, I watch a portion of it, go do what I gotta do, come back, watch some more of it, but it's right here.
I've done.
I
how
guess
many
I guess part of the
Yeah,
difference is
I mean,
that
I'm
I'm
not-
a
I'm not
professional
everyone.
meeting planner, and my job is to bring people together face to face because it's a better way to educate.
Well,
And
that
it's a
makes
better
you
way to
an
network.
advocate for it. But for me, I've taken CEUs every year for 40 years, and it's always been online.
Well, I'd
Always.
like,
I'll take it.
I'd like
I,
to say.
I agree that
I
for
take
this
mine
kind of
online.
setting,
I'd like-
yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
like to say that this last year, we had so many new people, we had new appointments, we
fine.
had new opportunities. We did not have as many opportunities to go to any in-person events. And so the cost was probably quite a bit higher for all of this education last year. This coming year, mostly everybody's had it. So perhaps we have a less budget for this year than the next year. You may have a new group that need to have the education. They need to travel or they need to go to TML. So perhaps this year you have it a little less because we had such a big
We,
attendance last year.
I suggest, I'm looking at 2018, 2019. I'm not looking at 2019-20 because it was COVID. The amount was 2,500 and we spent 2,150. I am recommending that we use that number.
But the current
This
year,
year
we
was unusual.
I'm sorry, the current year, we budgeted 4,000 and spent 3,800. We spent almost all of it. This
Because
year,
we
right
had
now.
So many new people. And because we trained the comprehensive plan committee. We trained the new.
Trained
the new
everybody.
board, we tra- we
Was
trained
that bringing
the-
Alan
the
in
new-
here?
Yes, that was
Okay.
bringing
That
in,
was
Yeah,
how
Yeah,
we
that
did
was
it.
when
That was
Alan
what it
Alan
was.
Borquez came in and did
And
his
I think
deal.
that
we hosted.
I'm recommending.
So why did we bring them in instead of just send everybody online?
Because it was $50 a head versus,
Yeah, we got a better rate for him because it wasn't per person and we were going to have like 35 of 40 people. And so
Okay.
they gave us just a rate
Okay.
for the
Yeah.
program that he was going to give. And we kind of asked him to customize it for those subjects.
And we had the comprehensive plan committee in there, which was 12 people that none of them had ever served.
Right.
That's right.
So we had
And
a
new-
large group of
and new
people that
pins,
needed
you know,
training.
This room
new
was filled with
PNC
people.
and kind of new. you
Okay, how
know,
about 3,000?
that's-
3,000 for which one?
3,000.
Just same amount for elected and staff, 3,000 apiece.
Okay, so when we had Alan come in, it was $2,500 just base.
Right.
That one?
That
For
one was
everybody.
2,500.
For just that
For
one,
For everybody that's here. We
The one
estimate
that's here.
35 people was going to be here.
for the Alan Borges,
For that program.
2,500.
2,500.
I suggest 2,000 each for those and 1,000 for travel at this point, looking at what we have. And I think that that would be more than adequate for this next year,
Okay.
especially if we do per presentation rather than per person, which I think that we would be able to do fairly easily.
Well, if he charged 2,500, let's say 2,500,
Okay.
because we already know we can get a large group of people for that.
So you're saying for elected body,
We just
2,500?
did parliamentary.
Yes.
You could also get a lot of $50 trainings.
Well, either way you
with
do
that,
it.
too, if you did
But
online.
2,500, that's 50 people we could train at $50 online.
It's true.
That's 50 people, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Considering what we haven't done as far as travel, $1,000 for elected body travel is, I think,
Is that
more than
enough
adequate.
for you all, for your, when you go?
Well, we're talking just elected body. We're not talking about staff.
Employee
great.
travels at 4,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay.
And I mean, because
We
they've
can
got
change-
overnight and lodging
We
and
can
stuff.
change that. Okay,
Good,
good.
good.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right, so what
Are you good
elected
with
body,
that,
how
Jeff?
much?
Community events,
good?
Oh,
Okay.
elected body, 2,000? Is that what we?
2,500.
2,500.
2,500.
2,500.
Plus 1,000 for travel, but that doesn't.
2,500 for elected, 2,500 for staff.
Okay.
Okay, if we do that and leave elected body travel
There
as
is one
1,000.
person that has to take training this year.
Maureen? Oh, Joe.
No, I also, I got 3 things I gotta go through.
Well, it's in the
We're not
budget.
jumping.
Don't you
But
worry.
that, we've already talked about his
He's an
training.
employee too. then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, community events.
Okay.
We never spent $6,000. We spent this year 2,299.
And we're
That's
estimating
the
about
highest we
48.
spend. I say we do 3,000.
Well, but this was just a second here. This has now additional community events budgeted because we have National Night Out, we have Neighbor to Neighbor, we have the Halloween parade or Halloween thing that the
Is
Parks
that
and Rec.
gonna
might
come
be
out
doing.
of this? or
That'd
is
be a
that
community
come out of
event.
parks?
yes.
It would be a community event.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
no,
at
no.
the
We talked
most,
about
we had National
yeah,
Night Out
carols in the park.
2018, 2019, and we spent 2,220.
Mhm.
We're jumping to 6,000.
Because we know of at least 3 events that might be added.
National Night Out,
National Night Out, Neighbor to Neighbor, the Halloween parade, and then possibly a Christmas parade.
And you talked about a July 4th parade too.
Yeah, July 4th parade, yeah.
Right.
That's
Not
like,
we
not
do it as
necessarily
4?
parades, but events.
but,
Yeah.
right,
I'll
Events,
buy the
community
candy for
events.
Halloween parade.
What? What'd you say?
That's not the cost. It's other, just, they have that, but that's what, with the additional 3 events are for.
But always remember, we don't have to spend it.
Well, that's
We
right.
have to have
I
it
know,
in
but-
there, so we don't have to come back and ask for money.
Right.
Of you
But it's a
all.
lot easier to not spend it.
All right.
Then
I'm
to go
not,
get it.
I'm not going to talk
Not
about
there.
utilities. I'm
Then you
skipping the
gotta come back
utilities,
to council
okay?
Let's go.
and say,
You mean we
"Need
can't
more
lower our
money."
electric
Let's
bill?
Huh?
Exactly.
We can't lower our electric bill?
No.
Turn off the light.
We turn off the lights while we're there.
Well, I'd like to know why outdoor utilities is so,
That really
why
is
did
high,
we
isn't it?
increase it?
What is that? I guess that's Christmas lights.
I mean, 2,300, 2,400 is the most we spent across the board, and we jumped to 4,250.
All right, we're estimating this year we'll spend 38, 34.
Why is it going up so much?
Well, the thing is too, we're adding the south side over there for watering on the other side of
Okay.
Oh.
Woodcreek Drive.
Yeah.
We're adding in a water spigot over there.
One water spigot is gonna make it go up
A lot of watering. I
$1,800.
don't know.
Okay, well,
And that's only $250 more than what we had budgeted.
yes, I know, but look at what we spent.
I know, but
Budgets are based on actual,
But
not guessing.
spent is through July 31.
Okay, we
And
spent,
right now, I'm estimating at the year end that we will spend on outdoor utilities, electricity, 1274, water, 2550.
so we're spending electricity between outdoor and indoor.
Well, then it's up
Almost
from last year
$3,000.
because the last 3 years we haven't spent that
Yeah.
much. So what has caused the increase?
Well, we had a water line break out there,
Oh, well, that's nice.
And
and we still have a leak somewhere,
That's what's gonna happen in the
And-
park too.
and
when
we've
we
got it all
have.
cut off. Right now, all the water's cut off out there.
Well,
So why so much for?
that's just not a whole lot difference, but if it makes Judy happy, take off some of that money.
well, I mean,
Take off some of that money.
Well, and I think the thing is we've
that
seen with
water.
our volunteers down there too, they've been trying to take care of the
I say,
landscaping
I
a
was
lot
thinking it
better.
I say
More.
telephone and internet needs to be, you projected 5,000, you spent 3,851. And I don't want to be difficult, but when we did budgets, we would not have been allowed, we had to look at what we spent, and unless we had a justification.
I do
we
have a
budgeted
justification.
at the spent.
I do have a
So
justification.
tell me the justification. what
number
you're
one
going
is-
up.
Internet
Yes.
costs.
Okay, internet
$1,200.
is basically a set fee. We have added since last budget year, well, I now have a city cell phone. Joe has a city cell phone that was estimated in the cost of that employment.
okay,
So that he's not using his personal phone for city business.
and you're not either.
Okay.
Okay,
So you think that we are going to spend $6,000 on telephone and internet
And yeah, internet service, yes,
against the past expenditures?
yes.
We added that.
Yeah, we
hotspot
added the
for me
Wi-Fi
too,
too.
'cause
We
like
added
in
the
the-
Wi-Fi too, so that if we ever have another major power outage, two people have communication through Verizon.
Yeah, because I couldn't communicate because I didn't have a hotspot.
Oh.
But now I do have one.
Well, that's a reason.
okay, then moving on. Just
on.
leave it like it is.
All right, TML insurance. Yeah,
There's nothing.
after talking to the gentleman that is our insurance agent, they're estimating, that was about the increase they're estimating for next year. Okay, municipal court judge, that's a contract, $300 a month, whether we use them or not. Miscellaneous court cost, that was going to be to draft up new citation booklets and things like that. Prosecutor, it depends on how busy Bud is.
So we went from 600, spending 600 to budgeting 2,500.
Well, I'm estimating after we get through the September 1 court, that will be around
Say
1,500.
we spent 6,000. Actually.
Yeah, the reason that prior year, and I haven't looked at,
That was.
but we weren't allowed to have municipal court.
Right.
So,
That's why it was so low.
yeah.
But we
Oh, that's
spent
true.
6,300 in
Today,
the
Where-
past. The 2018, 2019
we had
actual
6,300.
expenses when we had a lot of
The
court
business as
cases
usual.
going on. We
okay,
haven't had any court
Yeah,
cases.
we're gearing back
Okay.
up.
okay, so,
Court bailiff was asked to be broken out and one of the previous, with one of the previous councils, we have not spent anything on court bailiff. And are we going to be spending anything on court bailiff? Using, okay, well, they haven't billed us yet,
Maybe.
maybe.
all right, it's just a
That could be covered through contract with constable's
Right.
office, where that would be provided.
Yeah, because that was in the contract with the constable's office. We broke it out because they wanted to see the difference between actually doing the traffic versus bailiff at the court.
Got it.
So how did we settle these things before we had municipal court?
We never did. We've always had court.
a city is required under the government code to have a municipal judge. It is a statutorily created position that must exist, as with other positions. Some cities don't do it because they don't have the budget to do it, and hypothetically, cities could be forced to do it, but bottom line is you're required to have the position. Under
Yeah,
law.
it's just,
Well, and the thing is, to answer your question, once it goes, we exhaust every opportunity to work with the citizen, whatever the situation is. But if they just finally dig in their heels and say, we're not going to, that's when we go to court.
and again, if it's not spent, it's not spent.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. It's just one of those things when you see year after year after year, you spend 10,000 and change on municipal court and it brings in $500, you go, that's not a very good investment. So just like, what are the,
It's just like, and that's the thing is because I'm jumping into on my legal side, which I shouldn't be, but municipal court is for compliance.
Yeah, it's not for. Yeah.
It's not for, it's just like they took away the quotas on traffic tickets.
I don't,
But if you can't get resolution, you have no other choice.
no, I get it. I mean, I know you have to have
Oh,
a
yeah.
resolution. It just
I don't.
seems like, oh my gosh, there should be a better way than, putting all that money in and not getting any money out.
Well,
It's good. It's
we
fine.
write ordinances
Yeah,
too.
one of the
you know,
things, I
that's one
don't
of
think that the municipal court,
Yeah,
I
really.
understand the expenditure. And as somebody who always wants to see a return on investment, it is not a return on investment. I don't think, and that we're looking to financially put a financial penalty on the citizens. We're looking for is compliance.
That's right.
I went through all the letters. I asked for a copy of every single letter that have been sent to citizens recently. I've had them with me, and I don't know that I have them today, to appear in court. And it was clear, it was a small number, and it was clear in some cases that there have been 3, 4, 5 attempts to resolve the issue prior to going to court. And there were some, so I don't know what you do. You can look the other way, but that's not fair to the rest of the citizens who are complying with
No,
the ordinances.
I mean,
And I think that this judge has been very reasonable in how he handles the cases. And even there, he offers the opportunity for resolution. So I think that I was impressed with the one that I sat in the back quietly and observed him. So I think we need.
the reason I bring it up is just for the budget issue. I mean, I'm not debating really the need. I'm just
But
saying
we're
that for a budget, I mean, if we haven't been spending the money on prosecution, and I mean, do we need to budget it? If so,
We have
fine.
to budget it.
But
we
in
haven't
the
been spending
scheme of things,
for the
we're
last
talking
couple of
about
years.
$10,000 on $1 million budget.
Yeah, we need to budget it.
That's pretty minute.
This is much like having a
I would
retainer
like to not
for
have
this
to budget.
particular item. Whether we use it or not is a different story, just like having an attorney on retainer.
That's true
That's
of
what this is
every
very much
category except payroll and utilities. I mean, those are
Okay.
only fixed costs.
we can move.
The discretionary.
All right, move on.
Okay, let's go to the big ones.
Okay. So let's get into the 8,900 miscellaneous.
Yeah, let's do that.
Got this is a $257,500 worth.
Mhm.
And the one I put in here myself was a pickup truck, and that can be actually also financed if it's over $30,000.
All right.
To justify that, Councilmember Rasco is that basically staff, not me, staff needs a vehicle that they have available to use for the different city purposes. And I'm not in here to say I'm going to use this at all. I won't, because I hate driving a city vehicle.
Well, one of the concerns that I have right now is we have the compliance officer riding the mule.
Mhm.
The mule has it looks like very similar golf carts. I had a citizen call an elderly woman call me and say, there's a strange man, because they don't know Joe.
Mhm.
And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about it. And then I said, she was on the phone. And then I said, oh, that's the compliance officer. He works for the city. He's using the city vehicle. Oh, no, he's in a golf cart. I said, well, that's the city vehicle. But that was a call.
Doesn't it have the city
Yeah,
seal?
one-on-one.
No, It
So
just has,
there-
a-
so I don't know how
Everything
I don't want to buy a truck,
and we've never had.
but I
zero
don't know
on
how we're going to make it where.
But my issue with this pickup truck at $35,000 is the price.
Me too.
Because, I mean, we can buy a 1 or 2 year old vehicle from Enterprise Rent-A-Car, a pickup, for about $16,000 to $18,000. Why are we spending $35,000 on a new vehicle?
it.
We don't have a place to park it.
I went with state bid.
I don't care
I
about
know,
that.
I know,
Can
but
we
yeah.
can we do basic? Yeah,
That is-
you know,
well,
ACE
that's
has
pretty
It is
basic.
basic.
That is
standard
basic.
shift.
This is basic.
Is it basic?
Yes.
That's basic for a pickup truck.
So is this pickup truck now, let's talk about the truck or the city vehicle. Is this supposed to be for staff to use as well?
This is for
As
staff.
Joe,
This is
all
for,
staff?
this is for staff, Linda, Maureen, and Joe.
But the priority is the
The
compliance.
the compliance, yes.
The priorities. We have an issue, I think, that came up at one point, maybe Bud brought it up, I'm not sure who, but it was that the staff cannot drive their vehicles to do city business because their insurance does not cover.
When
Is
I
that
talked,
correct?
when I spoke
Or
with our
not?
insurance carrier, if an employee is driving their vehicle and is in an accident and and basically their insurance company finds out that they are using it for business purposes, but they're not covered under the business purposes, then our insurance company will not cover them either.
I'd like to add to that if I drive to TML in my own personal vehicle and I have a wreck, I have the right to ask the city to pay for it.
Yeah, you do.
So that means
Yeah.
that we all should have city vehicles.
Or we just all have to know that we're gonna get reimbursed.
Or,
if we
and
have
that actually
problem from a
happened in
city.
Wimberley with,
So let's talk about this.
Don Ferguson. He lost a vehicle during the floods,
Mhm.
and the city of Wimberley did replace his vehicle.
So let's talk about
What
this. So it seems to be it's about the money, not about the need for the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
can we do
For
and
me,
talk
So
about
where's
the money?
where's the gas and maintenance for this
For me, it
vehicle?
Well, that was overall cost is 35,000. I
So
just
that
put it all together.
includes,
Yes,
includes gas?
Includes what?
yes. We've been
Gas,
talking
oil
about,
changes.
because, we've been, instead of having a full size, I've been talking to Joe about getting a mid-size, which reduces that cost down to about 24,000.
This is for a full size.
No,
What it would be, like
mid-size.
an F-150?
No, this would be
Like a
for
full
a mid-size pickup, base bid without bed liner is 22,315.
Okay.
Before tax license, et cetera.
Well, we don't have tax.
Oh, yeah.
License is 220.
City, I guess.
And then, let's see, if you put running boards on, and the bed liner, that's about another $1,000.
So 22,315, tell me what kind of, is it a
It is, this would be
Ford
a
150?
This would be a Chevrolet Colorado Crew Cab WT. It's got,
Well, 25,000 is better than,
wheelbase
35.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 35 includes gas in it.
Yeah, and everything, all the additional costs.
So it's like-
for operation
it's like
maintenance.
So
20
Okay.
some odd
I got you.
plus all the,
That is payload capacity.
You can't-
1150, longest available, bed available on that truck.
25,000 would cover?
for the cost of the vehicle,
Not
Well,
gas.
but not the maintenance and stuff.
The maintenance and stuff can't go under 8,900.
No,
That's gotta be put into,
Well, but if y'all say go ahead and do it, I'll break it out. This is all topics of discussion.
So what would you, Judy, what do you think that is a good number?
well, I think somewhere around $20,000 is a reasonable, and it's gonna cost us more in insurance because it's not garaged. It's gonna be parked in a parking lot where there's no lighting. I mean, there's all these other things that I think are not being calculated in the overall owning of a city vehicle.
I can tell you what the insurance is.
So the 35,000 did cover quite a few. of the
Yes, they
other
cover
additional
all the
expenses.
estimated, but let me
So you
find
got
that
something?
meeting.
From 22 to 35 is $13,000 for maintenance on 1 year.
Well, but that's
That's
also,
more than $1,000 a
Well,
month
that truck
for a
would be under
vehicle
warranty.
that's gonna be driving less than 15, 20 miles a day.
So the truck is gonna be under warranty.
it will
So
be.
basically, if, what you need is oil changes and gasoline and
Tire,
washing it.
Yeah.
gas, and
2,000
insurance.
bucks.
And insurance, I'll tell you what the insurance will
So
be. If I can go find that one.
It's probably gonna be about $1,200 a year.
Yeah, okay, where was that when we first brought that up?
I don't spend that much on my car. It's okay.
I don't spend $1,000 a month on mine.
A month? Oh,
Year.
Well, he's including $13,000 in
Well,
maintenance.
And that's why I said we can back that up too, because, okay, so the insurance on the vehicle is $450 a year.
It's too much.
$450 a year for insurance?
450.
$450 a year
That's
for,
cheap.
Pretty cheap.
Okay.
That is cheap.
So
That
450,
is- that
okay,
is,
fuel, I estimate
I pay that every
$2,000 a
6
year,
months.
and maintenance $500.
A month?
No, a year.
Are
For the
you-
new
these are-
vehicle.
This is the yearly, try to come up with that 35.
And the additional is if you wanted to put four-wheel drive or not under it.
why would you need four-wheel drive when you're driving city streets? If you're gonna go off-road, then you can take the new.
Well, this is just because of what the Emergency Management Committee recommended to have access to during those times.
I mean, that's like me buying an 8,000 square foot house for having an event once a year. I pay all of the insurance, the taxes,
Mhm.
everything to have all that space, and I use it one time a year. That makes no sense.
So going back to the possibility of, you mentioned an enterprise vehicle, mid-size, let's say, that usually has only 50,000 miles on it at the time that you buy it, which is very, very low mileage,
Very.
relatively speaking. If we were to go a route like that, would we be able to do something like that? And it would maybe take the price down by somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 off the 22,315.
And the maintenance can come way down because that's $950. And my guess for a vehicle that's being used right here locally, my guess is we probably will not put 7,000 miles a year on that car.
Its furthest trip would be most likely to San Marcos and Dripping Springs.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So
Well,
7,000,
I'd suggest you come up with a figure that you think that the budget should have, and then see if in fact a vehicle can be bought and maintained for that price or for that amount. And if you think 35 is too much,
Well,
what,
25.
Well, now we're
Obviously,
down
I'm
to-
not
okay,
price of
so-
vehicles, because I would say a good a number that I would be more comfortable with would be no more than 25,000 for everything.
well, and that's
And
what
that-
Jeff is saying, 25 as well.
I mean, and that's when I'm out of touch. I haven't.
And
I-
what do you
I-
think of 25?
I think 25 would be my maximum, including
Yeah.
insurance and maintenance,
That's what I'm saying.
because I just figured the maintenance should not cost us more than about 9,000 a year.
Well,
Period.
that's a
And this
pure-
this
It's
vehicle
really-
will not need premium
three.
gasoline
It's about 3, right?
like my car does. So
that's a pure 10,000 less
Okay, sure.
off the budget.
20,000.
But we're all in agreement that we need the vehicle,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
correct?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, if you can't use a personal vehicle
Right.
for city work, for insurance and other reasons, then Yeah, I see it. And I know that you can't do everything in the mule. You can do a lot in it, but you can't do it
I'll
all.
say
But
And the mule was specifically purchased so that it could also be on the golf course.
Okay.
Because we received
Well,
complaints on the backside of it.
I think we need to get stickers on it.
And
Yeah.
yes,
We need to
Yeah.
have the
Let's
city
ID
seal,
it. Let's, whatever the cost is. to
Yeah,
ID
whatever
it.
it costs, if you gotta have it hand painted.
Have it wrapped.
We
Oh,
need city
yeah,
seal
I
on
like the
anything
Get it wrapped.
that is
Yeah.
representative of the city.
You're saying that
I
specific
have a
Fort
neighbor
Mule,
who's an
correct?
artist.
For the
She
mule.
made
Yes.
a neighbor-
well, the truck will have to be.
I would think the truck would
You
have
wanna
to have.
stay?
It will too.
It will too, but
Great, so you got.
All right,
25
next one
to
is, finalize the
25.
comp plan.
Going
We paid out to Pegasus about $20,000. We originally budgeted $55,000. I've not seen the final cost of the survey that was actually recorded, tabulated.
Okay.
So we do have a person that I found that does this, and his hourly rate is $145 an hour.
45?
145
And
To
what
do
would
what?
that,
To do
what
what?
would we get?
to help assist the
The rest of the
group
comp plan.
to finalize the comp plan.
Okay, this is,
well,
let me,
30,000
let
is
me,
too
let me,
much.
let me walk through the process. The survey's complete, responses are in, they're being collated for analysis.
Yes.
The next thing that comes in is for us to, based on those responses, prepare the plan itself.
Yes.
Develop the goals, develop the strategies, the goals, the objectives. But there's also, at the same time that we do an analysis of what has been achieved since the 2030 plan. Okay.
Mhm.
We did that for the 2030 plan with Jerry, then it was Cindy, me, Pat Rawlings, who was a volunteer. We did that, but I know that this is a lot of money and $145 an hour to do what?
What are these, what's this person's qualifications?
He is a planning, he is a planning, let me find this. But that's what he works for a law firm, and that is his expertise, is basically the same thing
He's
that,
an attorney?
no, he works for the law firm. That's why it's $145 an hour.
We don't want an
What
attorney.
firm does he work for?
John Navarro.
How about if we were to use that?
No
person's
offense,
review
counselor, but no.
and
Well,
not for
none
an
taken.
audio?
That person would be used on an on-call basis by the committee,
Okay.
not,
On an
yeah.
on-call
So don't call them.
basis.
don't call it, right.
I have a
I
question.
like that idea.
I have a
I'll write
question.
it.
Where does this person live?
Austin,
For nothing.
So,
Where does this
Austin.
person live?
Austin.
Austin? So they will be charging us $145 while they're driving. from Austin to
Yes.
Waverly.
So Aurora, you need to assess for us what your needs are
At this
for
point, I
this
would like
committee
to
to
cut it,
finish the job.
I would like to cut it in half.
I agree.
And what we would use that
100%.
for is
I can do,
primarily for
I-
review and
Sure.
assistance in.
Let me.
She'd
let
like to
me-
recommend half.
Yeah, yeah.
The one thing I do think we need to do, and it should come out of this, we have to have a town hall meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
That is something we have. The citizens have been hearing about this, the citizens, we did that in the past. We need to bring the citizens in, have a town hall, show them what, so they know that their responses have been received and what the plans are.
so
So
if,
we have to have a town hall meeting. Then there's a lot of work and there's two people on that committee. There's some people on that committee that have full-time jobs that are not available. But there are two people on that committee that have the skills and the experience and are not, and can work on this like with me. And then we can bring this person in on a limited basis.
Yes.
So half will do it, but I do,
well,
please,
Good.
town hall meeting has to happen.
Yes.
will half cover the town hall meeting?
Hmm?
Will
Yes.
half, do you think that'll be all inclusive?
Yeah,
Okay.
Danny's gonna
Okay.
use the space for free. He left. For the town hall meeting for free. He'll bake cookies and
Yeah,
Right.
We
Yeah.
volunteer him.
Cut it in half.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay. Emergency generator for city.
I have a question about this generator. Have you already got bids on the generator?
No, it was estimated. It
Okay,
could be anywhere from 7,500 to 20,000. Just
okay,
depends on what you put in
I
there.
said,
okay.
If it's propane, if it's, yeah,
Where's it
diesel,
gonna go?
it'd be on the backside of
Where's
City
the
Hall.
generator going, where?
It'd be on, basically over where all of our, electrical and stuff comes in, where
Okay,
the
so
trash
when we
cans
do
are
a
sitting right now.
renovation,
Huh?
when we do the renovation,
But with the renovation, it would have to go someplace else.
okay.
So-
Okay, so I think we should cut this number in half and look at where it could be put if we go further with the renovations, rather than trying to get it installed,
Yeah.
move it. I mean, and adding expense on top
Oh.
of expenses.
I agree, because this is just things for discussion, because we're not gonna go run out and buy something if something else is supposed to go in there first.
Well,
Yeah,
I sure hope
exactly.
not.
No,
I suggest that
But
this
I
be-
think it's really important that it's on here because it was such a big point with our
It was
emergency advisory group,
it's
and they need to be
really good.
validated in the community that had the
Oh,
input.
they wanted to buy one for Aqua.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
really.
suggest this be 10,000 instead of 7,500, because when it comes to a generator like this, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And if you get the very bottom, that's exactly what you're going to get. This way, there's a little bit of leeway possibly.
But the only thing it's going to be running is City Hall.
Correct.
That's it.
And if you get one that's a low ball type of cost, that's pretty much exactly what you're going to get.
$7,500 will buy a pretty good generator. I ran a whole house on one.
But it also requires
Connect, disconnect,
the setup for it as well and the electrical work to get it.
or did you go out there and start it?
No, it was a switch, but
Okay.
it ran all my, I mean, it
Yeah.
was my backup to all my solar power.
Because this would be automatic, it'd be an automatic generator that would run as soon as electricity went off. It wouldn't have to do anything.
So I think okay, you want to do what? 10,000 or
10K.
75? What did you want to do?
7,500.
I think 10,000 would be the adequate amount, at least for now. It's not being spent, but it's there waiting.
Does anybody disagree with the 10? Is that close enough to your 7,500? No?
I would like to know more about,
I would too. My concern is if we budget 10, we're going to look for a $10,000 generator.
When you look at the very bottom, and then you include installation as a part of that cost, which is automatic, it'll exceed 75 very quickly.
This isn't something that's on like, that you can buy through the purchasing portal.
Yeah, but
So it's going through the portal.
Yeah,
But I can tell you that
It's a
never
range.
is the best price you can get. Never.
no, but we're basically,
Never.
Well, you know you're going to get asked to do the
Well,
negotiation.
and the
That's
thing,
okay.
one thing you run into is because if you go through the
Brisbane,
buy boards and stuff like that, you don't have to bid.
It's in
Or
German.
go out and RFPs or something like that.
It's just the cheap, I mean, it's just the
Well, cheap.
lazy way of buying. You just go out, you say, this is what I want, and it pops up for you. But it's not your best price.
No.
Period. It is not your
I
best
thought
price.
that it would be a great price just because of the volume, but no.
No, it is not. Absolutely.
No, and you can, when you contact the vendor, they might come in with a lower price anyway. It's just they have the bid.
okay.
I think we just buy.
Between now and the next time, we can do some research, but let's put 7,500, and if you bring us justification, we'll think about it.
Going to 10. You want to do a little research?
Well, if we're
Why
gonna
do
go
85?
with remodeling and redoing, we could have their electricians do the install.
That's
So
right.
that could save us some on the
That's right.
generator.
Right.
So I think that you're talking about installation, if we're talking about $1,200 or $1,500, $2,000 for installation, that could actually be factored in maybe into the renovations and remodel.
Okay.
Ah,
Let's leave it, let's
like
do it
that.
that way. Let's do 7,500.
okay. 7,500.
And then
And then you'll
if they,
research around.
I am a reasonable person.
Oh. Did you hear
That's not
that?
funny. The way you said it was funny.
Okay.
All right,
You,
so
you,
we're going
you are
to
reasonable, but your humor was well
emergency
done.
Sirens. I really want to hear about these
Okay.
sirens.
Oh, my
Here is
Because I know we have some research on
What?
this.
I would like to say. This really is where I spent a lot of time because of the cost, the one siren, and I already saw some citizens' comments about why are we doing this? Okay. First of all, I have lived here, I have lived in this valley since 1985. We have had one instance where we had a tornado event, a tornado warning. We never had, the kids were told, you know, I know we had a terrible time this past year, or this year with the storm. I am looking at Pedernales Electric Company, of which we're all members, has improved their emergency notification services as a result of the storm. If you are with Pedernales, they have contacted you to update, to use their system. I went all the way back to 2017 and looked at cities nearby, Waverly, Austin, and so interestingly, I found that some of them had considered a siren. All of them decided not to have it because they felt that maybe they were good in East Texas, but not in this area. I think that, and they're also, in the middle of this research, I found something called warncentraltexas.org. And Hays County and Woodcreek are part of this warncentraltexas.org. Citizens may subscribe to this service and receive notices at no cost to anyone. The city can subscribe to this service. I don't know, I know that what I heard, what I read, a citizen who asked, what does the siren do? And Cody Abney responded, it's a state of the art. You can do an announcement. It's not just a sound. You can say it is now hailing, but you know, so I understand it's more than the old fashioned sirens that we have heard. At a minimum, we just had the event. We just have a recommendation. I think that we should put this on hold and do more research.
Can I ask you, is this
That's
a central siren, central voice? Because look at the total effectiveness of it. If you're at the other end of the city of Woodcreek and you're expected to hear this, and you compare that to the sound that's going to come out if you live on Champion Circle, maybe we just put it in Triangle Park and it radiates from there, something like that. But now it's also dependent on people being able to actually hear it, and those who are wearing hearing aids, for instance, may not hear it at all because at night they took their hearing aids off. So is there another kind of medium ground that we can use for something like that as far as warning?
Councilmember
I don't-
Marisco?
You know, I've not researched cost as far as these go, but I have talked to members of the CMAC group who are recommending this. And you're right, it's not a siren. It is a alarm system. It's a system of alarms. So it can do a siren. It can knock people off the golf course in case of lightning. You know, it's like it does a lot of stuff. The other question, I mean, it's the big one, is that, you know, all of those, you know, PEC and other warning systems are great, except how many of you had cell and internet down during the freeze? None of that works if your cell and internet service is gone, or if your phone, you know, has lost its charge. So this is just an extra emergency system, you know, that just supplements what we've already got. Plus, we can't get everybody to sign up for our own email and text services.
We're very well with our email. We have almost 500 subscribers.
We're doing
And
real
our
good.
households we have how many
We have over
households in the city?
1,700 people.
We're doing very well with our email, but I guess
Not that
beating
many
the drums
houses.
has succeeded. We have, how many households do we have in the city? I'm sorry, I'm not good with numbers.
900? Is
About
that
900.
900
So we have more
households?
than 50% of the households already signed up.
Yeah.
Well, and
Still not 100%.
I,
800 and what was the last number?
You're never gonna get 100%.
Whatever it
How does the
Of anything.
siren system work? Does it not need power?
or how does it
Okay,
not work?
Here's
I don't know.
I don't know.
The sirens on the Blanco River
But
never worked.
Do you know how they work?
When the floods came, they had 3 sirens on the Blanco River. None of them
None of them work.
worked. None of them.
Just curious about
Okay.
that.
I grew up in Tornado Alley.
I did too.
I did too on I-35.
Okay,
And,
Above
okay,
the
so, the last siren system I put in was actually, it was remote controlled by the dispatch, which it can be tied also to, any other way you want to. What I see as a problem is that, you sound off that siren. And the ones I installed, I mean, they were, like 40, 50 foot in the air. If you were under it, you couldn't hear it.
Oh.
Yeah, because that was going down, it was going out.
The other,
And then,
go
you
ahead.
know, but also it depends on what type of storm's coming in. Because, if you just have high winds, you're not gonna pick it up. And, every city I've been in, we didn't have one central area. We had the coverage areas. One thing I've also seen, which is, a situation is that now, just because it just happened this last summer, New Braunfels went under a tornado warning. We got the notice too because the tornado was heading our way. My gosh, it was 20 miles away, and it was take cover. Also,
Well,
usually when you have it for storms, in which we don't have this system in place, not only do you have your storm sirens, you have spotters out watching all the clouds so they can confirm whether there's a hook, if there's a tornado, high winds, hail, whatever it is. So it's not just the storm siren, but one thing I do like about it is being able to do other broadcasts by voice. But that goes back to, I don't know how many people would actually hear it. It could come down to having.
How does it keep its power? If
It's
everybody's
hooked
lost
up to the
power?
electrical system,
so
And-
it goes to electric.
and if you lose your electrical system, it's a battery backup.
It's a battery backup?
Yeah, with
All right.
electrical system.
Okay, one question. If I make an announcement, you put the siren on Champion Circle?
Let's say the Triangle Park.
Yeah, Triangle.
Maybe
Okay.
the best spot.
Okay, you put your siren at Triangle Park, the siren goes off. How far does the announcement travel?
That's a good question.
It depends on weather conditions.
Okay, and this is the reason I'm asking, because I'm thinking, depending on how far it travels. So what I'm saying here is, I think that we are not ready to have this item on the budget.
I agree.
I think that there's research to be done. What is the cost? This is the cost. What is the cost? What is the maintenance? How far does it travel? What happens, all of these things. For me to say, okay, $50,000 of taxpayers' dollars, I can't.
I can't either.
And if it travels real far, then can we share it with
The other,
Canyon
Mountain
Crest.
Crest HOA? Can we share it with Woodcreek North? And
Well,
you
what
know,
about
I
Wimberley?
don't
What
know.
about the golf course?
What about Wimberley? What have they done?
But
about this?
Wimberley considered it and did not. Wimberley had it on their agenda in 2019, please. I had the notice, I had the month,
Yeah.
I don't have. And it was
LCR,
not done.
wasn't it LCRA that helped put new ones in on the Blanco? I think they,
Well, couldn't
Was-
we?
It would-
couldn't
It
we
was
research-
LCRA.
Couldn't we
And-
research
I
think it
more
needs more
and
research.
I agree.
research more and
I
contact
agree.
the other entities?
The-
with
the other thing
Wimberley,
is
Dripping Springs and see what.
This is
Where-
too soon.
If that alarm goes off, it doesn't tell you what's coming. You don't know whether to hide from a tornado or get to high ground because it's a flood. This is just an alarm system.
It can if you know the different whale.
Oh,
Okay.
Because it could do one type of whaling for a tornado.
Well,
Another
we
one,
need to
but
have-
you would
so
have to
that
do it yourself.
requires citizen
Take it out.
No,
education,
you got it.
which means that spending the 50,000 is almost worthless if we don't educate
You know,
everybody.
I
Where the
think-
50,000 would come in handy is if it was part of a network that did hit the other communities around, so that you can make sure that the spacing of the towers was such that it reached
Yeah.
the most amount of people. So,
Exactly.
Yeah,
So do you think we're kind of in agreement that maybe this is not for this budget?
It's not
and we need
ready.
To do more
we need to,
research and.
Well,
Yeah.
also,
Why can't we not assign this? Oh, by the way, the city of Austin also had it in city council in 2017. They did not.
they
did
turned
not
it,
buy
yeah.
Okay.
Why can't we take this out of this budget and have the committee continue to come back to council, educate us? Maybe I knew more about it.
The Emergency
You
Management
mean the
Committee?
emergency management
Yep.
committee?
The CMAC, that's what they.
Yeah.
No, we didn't dissolve,
No.
so.
No.
it would
I
still
think
be
that's
Pat
great.
and
They could-
Nancy and Jack Bose.
It could be on an agenda and they could give us a presentation.
and there also used to be grant funds available for
Oh,
these.
I was
types of
That's what I was
That was
gonna
the other
say.
thing I was thinking, too.
Exactly. I was just
Because
thinking about grant
PEC, I
funds.
know, was involved in replacing the ones on the Blanco after the floods.
And FEMA did have a program.
Uh-huh.
I would,
Well,
See,
I
this is
would
one of the things-
actually, I wouldn't have to agenda the item to request that the emergency committee go ahead and start to work on this.
No,
item.
no, no.
No,
Yeah.
that
Because
report to you.
we've all agreed we're not going to put it on this budget.
Right.
Yes.
And that would
Yeah,
be
and see,
just-
my hope for this was that it was all going to be part of the, the rescue fund.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think
No,
No,
that-
if
That's
they
what-
can
Yeah.
use
that's-
that for the rest
That's
of
what
the
Yeah.
CMAC, that's
See,
what
that's-
CMAC
that's
was
the
thinking, is
problem.
that it would
Yeah,
be part of
And
it.
this,
I think it would.
I was always imagining a single
I think-
tower, and now we're talking, perhaps this is multiple towers as well.
But there might be
Well,
other.
and what they
there
do,
might be
as
other
you know, they
funds.
do is they come in and you bring a company in and they see how the coverage is and they actually show the area of radius so you make sure you cover everything. So it could be
Right,
one
so-
tower, it could be 5.
There you
So
go.
that's
Moving
great.
on.
We'll do that and I'll get the emergency committee kind of going. And
Yeah, that.
Councilmember Brasco was just saying, I don't think anybody heard that
Yeah, it was
they
really-
were thinking, he was thinking, and the committee was actually thinking that hopefully that the emergency funding from the government might have some of the funding for this.
Right, but it would.
And if not, this was a kind of a backup thought. But
about-
since it's not in that possibility, we need to find funds for that, for other, perhaps
I wish they would
grants
have
or
told us that.
other.
Okay, but I
Okay.
think that I'm happy, I think that's what we should do.
Okay,
It's like, when you're gonna make a large investment or a large outlay of money, you have to have, whether it's personal or official, there has to be research behind it. That's all I'm saying.
so
Okay.
that's a good plan. So,
So take it out.
want to talk about the Parks grant
Well, I think.
Well-
match?
I will, we did have a short meeting with the chair and vice chair today about having,
Parks.
challenging them to actually come up with other ways to help fund the $67,500 through other grants, through fundraisers, anything else, through, soliciting for people for private donations to reduce that true cost, up from the cities.
Are they applying for 270,000?
They applied for, the grant showed 270,000 with a $67,000 match. It was
So we
last
have a
night.
$67,000 match that'll be required, but we've met with that Pat and Karen, the chair and the vice chair, and they will be having a Parks meeting where they'll be discussing the recommendations that they need to start to find as many potential avenues to reduce that 67,000 by grants and
Yeah.
other.
And I
plans.
really, for this elected body, I think this body should challenge them to come up with a certain amount.
Yes.
I don't think that we're in a position to not fund this item with a grant application having been made. I mean, I
He
think
made the
that.
presentation last night.
Huh?
Pat made the presentation.
made the
to BOZAC last
presentation.
night.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think we're in a, I think this is not one where we can go with a do half or do. I think we are committed to this.
Yes, we're
based
committed
on the
to,
application.
we're committed to the entire match
Right.
for now.
I
But
But we want to make a charge to that
Yeah,
board to
if we
go
reduce it.
down all of the avenues of how to reduce that.
I'd like to see them come up with 25% of it.
Yeah, but
We
at
can
this point,
certainly
we need-
talk to
It's a
them,
reasonable
because when
challenge.
they
I
may
think
have
it's a
their
reason-
meeting, they'll still be coming back to council with ideas and thoughts.
And the reason I say that is I think that we're a very small city to be spending $270,000 on playground equipment. I mean, a very small city for that kind of an investment. That's $250,000.
It's not all playground equipment.
Well,
Huh?
That 270,
yeah,
that's not just
No.
for the playground equipment.
well, what the application was that to apply for $270,000 with the city kicking in the 67,000. So basically,
Yes,
Basically, this is not, we cannot say no at this point. We
No.
already, the application is in process. The application is based on the city matching with 67,500. Hopefully, there will be other opportunities to reduce the city obligation in the future, but at this time, I believe
but
this
once
is.
again, the amount here is the amount required under the grant process, but if we don't have it, or if the circumstances change, there's no obligation
What
to make this payment.
What happens if the grant gets reduced to 100,000?
Then the
Then this goes
commensurate
down with it.
amount
It's gotta
of
come
the
down.
match will be reduced.
yes,
We need to leave this item.
Yeah.
It's gotta say.
it's
that.
got, yeah.
I'd like to see the grant as it was proposed and what they're asking for $250,000.
Okay, it should be on the POSAC website,
It's
Yeah,
on
the
post-
full
There was a
presentation.
presentation
happened,
last
yeah.
night.
It wasn't up this morning, but it should be
I
up
mean-
sometime today.
This is
And
a.
we agree, Aurora.
Well,
We agree.
Huh?
We
It's
agree
okay.
that,
This is
we
okay.
agree.
Yeah,
that
it was
we
in the
can't
council package
change
over here.
this.
Oh, I know, we can't now. We're stuck with it.
We need to.
Well, we're
happily
committed to the
stuck with it.
match, but I
I'm
think that
not.
I'm committed,
I know you're
well,
not.
the city is
I
committed
know
to
you're
the
not.
match.
We
But
Well, I
have to
think
move on.
$250,000
but I
is a
really
lot.
think that the board, the park board knows now that they need, Parks and Recreation Board knows that they need to begin immediately was the direction
Yeah.
today.
And they have
To-
not posted the video yet.
No. But that
Yeah, I
they were
looked at it,
to
and I knew
immediately
it wasn't
begin the efforts to find funding, and that the city and staff would help locate opportunities, and that we would begin that. Because without meeting this match, then it won't happen. I don't believe we're gonna have that kind of money. But if we do, we do.
I mean,
and
there's a lot of competition for the grants,
Yes.
Yes, they may not get the
you know,
grant. yeah.
and there were a couple of good
I mean,
ones last night.
Well,
Let's not count
I-
the chickens till it.
I know.
Yeah, we
Not-
did discuss
Not to
that.
really talk about anything, but, you know, I was on there listening and they were questioning the size of the,
Bark.
each one of the parks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The acreage, yeah.
And maybe working with another grant.
Right. Well, they asked too whether it was tied into the El Cordova project.
Yeah,
That
but-
had been submitted and it's, so
Well, I
so
think,
they're smart. I mean, they know where they're looking at.
yeah, and I think they
Well,
did
they're
realize
very
exactly
aware
that
Yeah.
where we were talking about where our park equipment in the city of Woodcreek versus on the edge. You know, I think that was one of
There's
the
a-
biggest questions.
There's a
They
lot of
also were
competition, and
question-
I have seen another presentation. There's some presentations that are.
And Judy, they were also talking in the fact that most of our presentation on the parks was about the equipment for children, you know, playing with other children. There wasn't as much of an emphasis on green space, although Pat was very happy that he kind of caught on, I think, that he needed to talk about the gazebo
Yeah.
because it was too much
triangle
about,
piece.
too much about just children's
Mhm.
playing with children
I
outside.
thought you did a good job on the
So
presentation. We've got a good shot at it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
felt good about it.
All right, so,
Let's move on.
Is there anything else? Traffic?
no, library
Library
donation.
donation.
Well, that, yeah.
So-
Anybody, any comments on the
So
library?
when she came, she said they would have a pledge. I mean, they were asking for a pledge and suggested $30,000 and that it could be like 10,000 a year over 3 years.
Our city attorney said that
And
can't
Bud-
happen.
Right.
Bud said, with one council
Yeah.
cannot commit another council to
Mhm.
pledging.
we have to do it, whatever we have to do, we do it now, and then if they want more, and the new council they would have to come back.
But we, I think, decided, you requested that the budget item be
Yeah,
considered today.
I requested that we consider it because we
Right.
said we would.
Yeah,
My thought was going to be that it would be more like 10,000. We don't have to sign a pledge. We could do a $10,000 donation and come back next year and do another $10,000 donation and just not sign on the dotted line that it's a pledge, but we can say that, it is our hope and goal that Woodcreek will continue to support the library, especially as they're trying to add on, because they're,
but we can't do a pledge.
So, and that's 10,000 in addition to the money that we already spend by way of property taxes, I believe. Is that correct?
it's,
Sales
Yes.
tax.
no, it's part of
Sales
the,
tax.
it's a part of the sales tax.
Okay, that Wembley, that we actually don't contribute our sales tax to that, do we? That's primarily Wembley that does that?
Now,
It's a discount.
under the sales tax,
Sales tax.
the city of Woodcreek gets a penny. The library board gets a half a cent, Hayes County gets half a cent, which exhausts all the 2 cents that we can get.
Yeah. And they get sales tax from us every time we drive to HEB or Ace Hardware or anywhere in Wimberley.
Yeah.
And they, as I mentioned, when they presented, they are getting in excess of $700,000 in sales tax a year. I mean, that is absolutely asinine when we're looking at 70,000 a year. And I think giving them half of every sales tax dollar we get is ludicrous.
I have seen what I am getting from the citizens, and I'm getting, it's divided. We have citizens who want us to support the library. We have citizens who are saying we're already supporting the library. I worked at the library as a volunteer for 5.5 years, and it is more than a library. I used to kind of, I know it's late and I shouldn't be telling stories, but I used to kind of laugh because the library
Go right ahead.
Quiet. And that's one thing that library is not, because people come there are the children's programs. I worked on Saturday and I loved it because that's when the children came in with their families. There's all the stuff for the young adults, the teenagers. There's a lot of stuff that they do and I encourage people also in my other volunteer work on the visitor center, when families came into the Wembley, the first thing I said is go to the library, get your library cards, get your children involved. So they do a lot. So we have part of our community that is saying, please support the library. And we have part of the community that is saying, we already do. So I'm torn, and I would like to get for the sake of moving on, we're gonna have more discussions. How about we put $10,000 here and come back? We're gonna have public hearing on the budget. We're gonna have public input. Let the people speak. Let our citizens tell us.
I see how many showed up today.
Huh?
I see how many showed up today.
I know,
I'd like to
They're
just
listening.
add
They're
one,
listening. They'll watch.
they're watching.
one,
Can we do that? Or maybe 15?
yeah, no, I'm all for, I mean, I look at it this way. It's like to Judy's question about, the sales taxes and everything. I go to church, I make a pledge, but I also throw money in the plate, every week for the other stuff that's needed. So I sort of pay my tax, but I also give a little bit more. And I think that's what I'm suggesting that we can do here is that the library does a lot of stuff, and they've got some big growth plans.
But they also have a big budget,
They don't have
way
enough to
over ours.
They don't have enough to build the new building and staff it and outfit it.
So
Yeah,
how-
well-
How about if we followed your
It's a
example?
capital campaign.
How about if we followed your example and started with $5,000 and asked for additional amounts that people privately give from the citizens of Woodcreek, not officially through Woodcreek, but through the citizens of Woodcreek. And that may equal close to $10,000 if we have some very generous donors within the city.
I
We
agree.
can't coordinate that.
I
We
agree.
can't.
We can't coordinate that.
Well,
Just like we can't coordinate the pledge.
I think $5,000 sounds fair to start to show good, good faith interest in the community, wanting to support, but also taking into consideration that we truly have such a limited budget in our city.
Yeah.
And as long as we claim and make it clear that we are stretching to begin, and then perhaps next year we might look at what things we didn't spend or additional funds, but to just have nothing there, I'm not comfortable at all with that. I think we should try to make
I
a
can,
commitment to helping the library. And that's just my feeling about it, because I think there are more people who use the library, maybe not this past year with COVID and such, but they've been really grand. That's a lot, 5,000 is a lot of money
well,
to
let's
commit,
can we put that as a
from
marker?
our budget. What?
This is just the first meeting, so let's
Yes.
put that on and
And
then.
then see what the
and
community,
then see what the community does.
sure. Is that okay with you, Judy, to do 5 until,
No, but I'll agree to it.
okay.
Okay.
Well, y'all,
I mean, I don't see them coming forward to help us with building our new city hall. I mean, I don't see the Baptist church asking for a donation so they can build a new sanctuary. So that's just my opinion.
Let's just put it there.
the 5,
Traffic study.
we were gonna go with the 5, okay. Well, let's do that. Did we? Okay.
Traffic
Traffic
study is the next
study.
one.
All right, so there has been a lot of discussion about the data from our radar signs. And we have never had a scope of work from our engineers they've looked at it, and they've already mentioned that when they were looking at Woodcreek Drive, that we are well within the 85 percentile, sitting at 25 miles an hour. But they have not gone into the full depth of a traffic study to pull all the data we have. Now, the data is there. And just their basic review shows what all the speed is and stuff. And we've had, we had the radar sign right now, 164, 165 Augusta Drive. Average speed right now is 18 miles an hour.
Well,
So, yeah, so I don't know if we do need a traffic study. And I'll go back to the other situation where New Braunfels has a program set up that if people feel like they want some type of a traffic calming device out in front of their house, they request the council to study it. They actually participate in the cost. The citizen does. Because not everybody on that block might want it.
may I say, my suggestion for this item is that we reduce it to 0.
I agree.
I agree.
And I would say this,
I
we
agree.
spent we've spent about $30,000 on radar signs.
Yeah, and we spend $3,500 a
Okay.
year on software for them.
We have data, and I'm sorry Mr. Bully's not here today, because shortly after he was elected, I'm sorry, my mind is, the dates, he was elected in 2019, and we had a budget, we had an agenda item where we looked at all of the data had been collected by the signs. And at that time, we were looking specifically at Woodcreek Drive. And it was a very, very thorough report, very thick. It had all of the data. It was presented, the average speed, the number of vehicles. And the constable participated in that presentation. And the constable confirmed with his personal observations that the issues were occurring in rush hour morning, people getting to work, and afternoon,
Evenings.
people coming from school. We looked at the options. When you have that detailed information, your best tool is focused enforcement, not traffic calming, it's focused enforcement. We continue to work as part of the Roads Advisory Group. We looked at traffic calming. We looked at options that we could do. In the past, the citizens have been opposed to speed bumps, particularly concrete speed bumps. We had to remove them because there was such a uproar by the majority of the citizens. We have the data. We made a commitment that we were going to look at Woodcreek Drive before and after the construction of Blue Hole. We collected the data before the construction of Blue Hole. We now have the data after the construction of Blue Hole. Do we have to pay $30,000
No.
to put together an analysis that I haven't seen the detail recently, but speaking with the engineer from Cape Freeze, he said 85% of your vehicles are traveling at or below the speed limit. So I would like for us to be creative and take care of this without spending $30,000.
I don't think we need to spend $30,000 either. It was my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong with this, but it was my understanding that when we hired Cape Freeze, take a look at all of our roads and to prioritize, how they were going to be done and start working on that whole project, that they would be using that data as part of their planning process. When they're saying, okay, well, if we're going to do this road based on the analysis that we have from the radar signs or wherever we're getting the data, we would take that into account as we're doing that. That was my understanding.
They were looking at volume.
Traffic count.
Yeah, and that's the
But
other
not
point.
speed.
And that's the other point I was going to make. Traffic isn't just speed. Traffic is volume.
Yeah,
And
they-
and the constable,
And we had that.
and Constable Ray Helm, he stood out there at National Night Out and said, I love working in Woodcreek where the only problem you have is cut through traffic. It's like, and that resident, it's like, there's a lot of cars. There's a lot more cars moving through our city. They may not be speeding 85% of them.
Well, the other thing.
The other
We do
15%
we
are.
do have the numbers. We have the
We have
numbers.
those numbers.
We have
All
I know,
the numbers are there.
I know we do, but the people that are designing, the redo of our roads, if they're not using that data in order to
But
make,
yeah,
to
okay.
make
I
that
see your
move
point.
on.
I see your point, but let's
That's-
clarify that.
Yes.
The original plan was we get the 2 radar machines. We're going to have this as Aurora, right up to what Aurora said. We were going to have the engineers do before the city school opened, before the Blue Hole School opened, then after, but then we moved the after date forward because of COVID, et cetera. In the meantime, we still continued to collect the data. We continued to know and have all of this information. But rather than this study we're talking about was what we were talking about for them to do the before and the after and have an analysis. But what happened is as time went farther along and more than we thought, and in the decision that council made to actually contract and begin work and redo for Woodcreek Drive, they did the analysis based on Woodcreek Drive and the city. And
Yeah.
they made the determination in that report that 85% of the speed, there was not speed. They said we did not need calming devices. They know the numbers and the volume. So we actually got a report on the road that is about to be let, to begin the project. So I agree that this initial report before and analysis after is probably not what we need to do now. And they, in fact, have already done the analysis prior to now doing the road bidding. So we really don't need to spend $30,000
No, we don't.
no,
for
if
this
I was gonna,
project.
if I was going to spend $30,000 on traffic, I would ask them to do a study on how to basically make it not so nice to cut through.
Well, yeah, and so
You know,
that
it's like,
very
what
well.
can you
yeah.
do? What can you do? I mean, traffic calming, if you think of traffic calming as only speed humps,
And others
you're
slowing
just
down.
wrong. If you look at Brook Meadow Drive is a perfect example of traffic calming. It's hard to get going at faster than 25 miles an hour there.
So I don't think we need 30,000. Personally, that's just my explanation of why we probably don't need 30,000. We may need a little budget here, though, to do some of the additional speed,
Well,
traffic
Okay.
related
When
issues.
K-Freeze was
I
here,
think that
Okay, excuse me.
I would like to suggest, because, I mean, this has been an issue that sometimes I think we're talking at each other instead of talking with each other. And we had a very competent group of, sorry, it was men, the engineers. We had a very competent group of men who met repeatedly. And we even brought guests. We brought Monica's sister. I invited her to come, and Chris Grummer to talk about issues of erosion and how we could help some of those. We spent months working, and I would hope that maybe we can entice some of those people to come back together. These are men who are engineers, who have professionals, who know they are not unqualified. One is an architect, but he's also very qualified. And see, look at everything and put it in front of council. Because maybe I know that we looked at every single street in Woodcreek. And then K-Freeze came in and did it in charges. And guess what? His findings were almost,
that told you what you already know.
they were like,
Right.
well, that with us, and we did it for free. So.
You know,
we
that's
don't need
that's
to
the
repeat that
definition of a
exercise
consultant, you
again.
know.
So
Yeah,
let me.
you know.
And we've done it many times.
They-
Rogers did
They
it,
take your
Hap
watch and
did
tell you
it.
what time it is.
I mean, we
So,
have
well,
done
but
it
what we're
so
doing-
many
What we're
times.
trying to focus on is the
So let's
budget.
check this off and
About,
let's work on a solution.
I agree. So the budget
Let's
item,
not
though,
reinvent the
is
wheel.
a
Goes
traffic
away. Zero.
a traffic study, and I don't think, I think I'm hearing everybody agrees we don't need a traffic study for $30,000.
Yes.
Mr. Blymore, did
And-
you have something a minute ago?
I had something smart I like to say, and I'll just bite my,
I think
Do I
that
need to slap you?
probably.
you have your.
What do you want to say?
Your group. You have your group now.
Okay,
Invited.
I will.
so I do want Aurora, though, on this item, to make your comments about the drainage
Yes.
issues,
Um,
because
I
I know
did a
you wanted
little,
to talk about
you know,
that.
I'm a little bit tired, but,
Okay,
okay. The,
So she
Never
can only
mind.
talk 15 minutes.
never mind then. We'll come back to that later.
Aurora, do you want me to go get you a cookie for
no,
the sugar?
this is what I would like to mention. I put together and I posted it online, and I had this discussion with Ms. Hines. She and I have been talking about this. And when this item came in drainage, and one comment that she made kind of made me go back into my files and look at why is drainage worth $45,000. Okay. One of the things that we did in 2017, I was newly elected council, and I was given this is a roadway improvement drainage assessment report. And it was part of the 10-year plan that started in 2016, so we're still in it, to improve the streets in Woodcreek. What this report talks about is nothing new. We all know it is the majority of Woodcreek has no roadway drainage infrastructure. Runoff currently sheet flows throughout the neighborhoods due to the lack of curbs and underground storm sewer system. So they talk about 4 areas of the city that are critical. And they are Brook Hollow Drive, which has been fixed. Brook Meadow Street, which we talked about today at the Brookside. And specifically the driveway at 45 Brook Meadow Drive. And there's also one at Champions Circle that was not, that was, and they looked at the locations and they basically came to the conclusion that drainage needed to be addressed. One of the things that we looked at, and it's not on this report, but when we did the roads assessment, we looked at Augusta Drive. Augusta Drive was chosen by us to be the first street to be fixed ahead of Woodcreek Drive. There was an issue with Augusta Drive that made it expensive, and is specifically the water flow that comes onto Augusta Drive that is eroding that road, making it narrow. So if you don't address drainage and correct this, you will be fixing roads that will not last. They will have a shorter lifespan because of the continued erosion. And not only do the roads erode and you get potholes and cracks, but they also, the
Edge breaks.
the width of the road,
Edge breaks.
you have the invasion of vegetation because of the dampness, and you also have the edges that walk away. And we have some roads, we identified some roads that should have been 22 that are now at 16. So bottom line is like your house. We have, if your house floods and damages your floor, you replace your floor, but you don't address the flooding. The next time you flood, you replace the floor again. So we have to, this is an item that is sorely needed. I think I would encourage the new council members, of those who have not seen this report, to read it. This is my copy. I think the city
Is it
can make
online?
copies available.
Is it on the website?
Huh?
Is it on the website?
I don't think you get the reason that it's not on the website. I think you need to get the report when you see maps, when you see, and Linda can help with, it can be done.
I just need to see which one it is.
You have it
So,
electronically?
so
I have a
the,
question.
so the relevant, yeah, so the relevance of this discussion is the emergency money.
The
The money,
425,000.
so the money we got, I'm gonna let Brenton talk about that. So the money we got was,
Okay.
is earmarked.
Through the emergency
So
act,
we
then,
need to do,
Yes, I'm sorry.
so basically, yes, $45,000. It is time for us as a city to address the problems that we have been talking about for the past 20 years. And this is one of them.
And you cannot fix a road unless you fix the
okay,
drainage.
so
So that's where we're going with this.
basically, under this act, American Rescue Plan Act, we are eligible for about $425,000. It can be used for water, sewer, or broadband. Well, then you can go one step farther and say sewer or water is storm sewer, because it's water. So in turn, while you're doing this, if you can't really fix the storm sewer without disturbing the road. So there's a good chance we can do some storm sewer plus, or address drainage plus get a road repaired.
Right. And we've already got the plan.
Yeah.
So we don't have to
Yeah.
pay for the consultation to
Perfect.
do that. We've already done the work.
Yes.
We
Well,
can hand
but we
it-
have to have the engineering cost.
You do have
But
to-
that would be in the 425,000.
But my gosh, we have engineered it to death. Half did an engineering study.
They
Roger
no,
did.
no, I'm not saying study, I'm saying
No,
the
no, no.
actual
The
engineering.
actual.
Oh,
So
an
you got it,
overseer,
exactly. That's
To
it.
an
actually-
engineering
To,
of
to
the
develop the
project.
plans for the project and then oversee.
Right, so each of these,
So that could happen part of the 425,000.
That's right, it's for that project.
Got it.
there you go. So
Yeah.
that's what that's about.
That's what
Plus,
we're
it'll
looking at.
probably do more.
But this is a
Then just
grant
that.
that has to be applied for,
No,
correct?
We've already got
actually,
We've
we're in the
already got
middle of it, and I know my sister city has already shown the project, and they've already got half their money cut and given to them.
Okay, so what we're saying is we're gonna spend every dime of that to help mitigate some of these issues.
You got it.
Right.
Got it.
And
We've
you-
already got till 2024,
So if anybody tells, you know, if
24?
anybody's telling you,
2024.
2020, if anybody's telling anybody that they could take some of this money and go spend it on some other thing.
Well, it is being said all over social media.
It is. but
Well,
it's
I don't
not-
know,
you
I don't
can't
go
do it.
on there, but I'm just
Well,
saying,
it is
this
being said.
we're on the mic, we're on the video, we're talking in the public. This money is all for fixing that drainage so that we can fix our roads.
How many of those four, excuse me,
And-
sorry, Jeff, how many of those four things from the 2017 drainage report would that $425,000 address? In other words, actually, one of them's already addressed.
Wood
so-
Creek Drive.
No, I disagree with
Woodcreek
that.
Drive
It all
probably.
depends.
I disagree with that because we fixed it on Brook Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we fixed the bridge and put in new culverts and everything, that was about $300,000 of our budget.
That's already done.
And we spent $1 million on the rest of the
But
road.
it was fixed.
But it needs to be fixed with concrete because asphalt will erode. It's porous. It will erode. So if we're not going to fix it with concrete and do it right, then there's no point in addressing it at all.
And
So-
I don't know that the 525 can address all the locations that they have identified, but you have one location in particular that I have seen it. I have driven after floods, and that's Brookside and Brook Meadow.
Well, I was going to say, I think because Brookside is a very short area and so is Brook Meadow, it's possible that we could mitigate some of those problems on both of them.
On both of them. I
That would
think
be
so.
And,
Yes.
and we do have, I mean, we have discussed, additional road funds, that we, it's like, okay, so Woodcreek was going to take a chunk of it. But, we had said,
We had some
that
left.
we need to have money left to do other roads too. So you could take some of the money that we're talking about doing roads, combine it with the drainage studies and engineering, and add to the 425 maybe?
Well, what I'm going to say is by the time you get finished doing the the Wood Creek Drive project and anything else in this budget, the city has no money left.
Yeah.
Basically, the next issue would be, do you want to extend the tax notes to generate over another $1 million without going up on taxes?
Well, we have 600,000 in reserve that we've already dedicated, right?
Well, okay.
No,
Right now, we're sitting with $1.6 million, basically, in all accounts.
Uh-huh.
Then you take out, so about the ones we can't spend money on. So basically, you go through and you look at all this, you might, with the budget as is sitting now, with the, so you take 400,000 out for Wood Creek Drive, that's 1.2. You take 500,000 out for the, what the FAA say we have to maintain, just earmark, not to spend it. You take out our 3 months reserves, so that's another $300-something thousand.
Uh-huh.
So we're down to probably $100,000.
Well-
And that's why I'm saying the next step. And once we get this more solidified, I'll show you how much money we're going to have to carry over at
And
the
I-
next meeting, because we'll know basically how much money we saved this year. So the thing is, everybody talks about how much money the city has. By the time you take out $1 million for Wood Creek Drive and the dedicated reserves we have to have, right there's $1 million.
Well,
And so we're down to 600,000.
So
I
these,
think it's good if you bring next meeting. I think that is an excellent analysis that we need to see for you to bring next meeting. This is how much money we have, and these are the projects that we're addressing. Would be our situation. What are our options?
Yeah.
If you remember, we went to the council before with our recommendations of extending the tax notes.
Yeah.
And at that time, he wasn't mayor, it was council member Escalon. He made that suggestion. The council at that time said, no. We suggested, let's ask the citizens, because it doesn't add. It just extends the debt, but it doesn't increase the citizens' payments. Council said no. So we came back. We had a plan. So we're gonna have to talk about all these issues.
And you got to remember that all this money that we have sitting there, that's not a lot of money, but the money we have sitting there has been generated since we've been a city since 1984.
yeah, really, it's
Yeah.
not like we got wealthy overnight.
And we haven't increased taxes. We haven't
No.
done tax notes. We haven't had an election to do more. So everything's been on the reserves and what, extremely fiscally responsible.
We've paid it as we've gone.
So would this be a good subject for our town meeting that we will be having as well?
The town
And you
hall.
know, that's the excellent idea.
Not a bad idea,
If we're
yeah.
going to
That's
do
a
a
good
town
idea.
hall, let's
Open
get
it up.
money
Yes.
Fill
I'm
up
all
the
for that.
auditorium.
We do have to ask one more thing here, though. Don't we have to talk about the the project of the,
Well, I
Okay.
think it's moot, really. We just
Renov-
heard that if we do all our capital projects, we're sitting with $100,000 in the bank. It won't pay the bills for a
we're
couple
going
of
to talk
months.
about how to raise more money, but we're going to have a city hall
Well, that's
Well,
why
renovation.
And I'll leave it in there for this. for
Just
the
Maybe
next
I
leave
one.
it
can get one, I can get some more grants. There's got to be something that we can do to
Yeah.
start figuring out a way to get into our city hall renovation.
I don't
So,
know.
I'll just,
Is Danny tired of hosting us?
No,
oh, no,
Danny's
No,
not
he's
tired, but the thing
but the
is
citizens
that
are.
since now,
I don't-
as of September 1.
Which ones?
Yeah. As of September 1, that all our meetings are, well, we're already, in person. But it's not always that the camp is available at the times that we want
We
to
need
meet.
it, yeah.
Well,
And if, there's been discussion going to night meetings, yes, but that could be up to 6 to 8 night meetings a month.
you know,
Yeah.
there seems to be, I won't say anything. There seems to be a belief that we're doing this because we want to, including the fact that we are senior citizens and we don't like to meet at night.
Yeah,
Because
we're too old.
You know, all I have to say is that I wish that yes, the camp, and then that we're lying, that the camp is available at night. It's just that we don't want to do it. And I just don't know how to explain that. I would like to have the opportunity. When I was president of Civic Club, we did evening meetings so our members who were working could attend. I'm all for people, providing people opportunities to come here, but our choices are limited, and enlarging City Hall is not an option financially. So if somebody has a better idea where we can meet without any cost to the city at night, I'm all ears.
I'll just put it this way. When we do enlarge City Hall, then we're going to have problems with parking because there is not adequate parking
Well,
if we increase the occupancy.
but we
Well,
can go down
There's no
past
easy.
the storage building and all that area. So there is additional parking available. It's just not like
Just,
It's not
Well, I
paid.
think-
Yeah,
pay for
where
the front
where
door.
they walk
I think
over
this-
those big rocks
we'd have changed.
and no light
Yeah.
because of dark.
Well, that'd be part of the change.
So I think this gift horse that we've had, here has been just beyond, the calls
look
of
at the
any
mouth.
citizen's duties.
That's
And
right.
with this beautiful facility, we've been able to social distance during the pandemic. We've been able to have wonderful cookies, but mainly we've been able to accommodate all of the meetings of the other boards and commissions as well. And I just can't thank Camp Young Judea enough for what they've done. So
I agree.
for us to say that we haven't been pleased with this is not true. We've been
Nobody's-
very pleased
nobody's
with
saying
this. Very
Nobody's
pleased with it.
saying that, right?
Everybody, I think.
We'd
has been.
otherwise be doing Zoom meetings right now,
Yeah.
and
We could have been,
with
yeah.
very poor connection
And
and
then,
much less accountability.
as of September 1, we would have to have an in-person meeting somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
we will
the
have to have our-
governor's
Well, we
orders.
already have the in-person meeting here, but September 1, all local governments have to be in person.
That's the governor's order.
That's governor's orders.
So we're already doing it.
We're already doing it, so we're covered.
We
It
are
doesn't prevent us from having a live.
No, well, that's just a
No,
caveat.
but what it does prevent us from doing is leaving here.
That's right.
Well, I know, I
So-
understand.
We can't leave
I
here
mean, I understand.
and we can't do meetings.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Let me close the workshop at 5:58 PM, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.